Carol Woolgar, Happy New Year. Thank you for coming on the Endurance Studio.
Yeah.
Welcome.
Happy to be here.
Congratulations on your epic Arizona Trail 800 finish.
Thanks.
Yeah, I want to get into all the details on that. But first, I wanted to start with you and John Schilling are doing, now that you're an expert bikepacker.
Something like that. I don't know if I would call it expert, but
Much more experience.
I know enough to get dangerous.
Yep, absolutely. So you and John Schilling are doing you just let me know about this Bikepacking 101 sort of overnighter course.
Yeah.
Which is the February 14th and 15th down here in Phoenix.
Yeah, we're actually going to do it on the Ironwood Loop, which is south or west of Tucson, south of Casa Grande kind of area.
Okay.
And the Ironwood National Monument, which I didn't even know existed in Arizona, which is kind of cool because that's what bikepacking is about, to explore new places. And so John and I actually have never done that loop, but it's 48 miles. We had been talking about this idea for a while because the way I got into bikepacking was 3 years ago. He did a clinic for us ladies, and we did an overnight. And that's what, he came to our house, we went through all the gear, he helped us set up our bikes, and that's how I got into it. So we were like trying to think, he's like, oh, I want to get back into doing one of these Bikepacking 101. He used to do like one a year.
Yeah.
We've done a couple shorter ones in Phoenix, and I think bikepacking is just really hard for people to even know where to start. There's a lot of ladies that I'm friends with, that I ride with, and they're like, where do I want to do this, but how do I start? And I had the same question. So we finally got our calendars together, which is not easy. We both have 2 jobs, but we just put it out there, and it will be really, there's some experienced people that have signed up, really anybody, as long as you're willing to go slow and support people new into bikepacking. So we're just it's 48 miles, and we might have a SAG. We're working on that. Someone, an old AZT, not AZT, Arizona, maybe AZT race director.
Okay.
Or director of the Arizona Trail. He might have a SAG that he might put together. But it's really just to help people. I've been answering questions. They might come over to my house and help them put their bikes together and get them out on the trail.
Yeah. Nice. So if I was like brand new, am I going to need to get a certain amount of gear? Or like, what am I going to need to bring? Like, how would I start that? Right? Is this the bike the only thing I need, or?
Yeah, any bike. Maybe not a road bike. Probably not a good idea.
Right.
But we have. I have. My kit has changed. I actually wanted to do. I was looking back at some old photos, and I would put my progression of bike packing and my different bike kits. Yeah. But I have some extra gear. John has a lot of extra gear he's collected over the years. We have extra tents. So we just told people, reach out to us and let's see what you might have to buy some things, but when you're first going on a trip, borrow gear. We have a lot of friends. I've actually had 2 or 3 people reach out to me and say, hey, I have gear if anybody needs gear to borrow. I have a full bike setup they can borrow. So we have gear, and then that way, because this gear is expensive, it's not easy. And to know what you like on your bike, so try it out. And so we have gear that you can borrow and help you out to get your bike set up. And then a lot of people probably have more things at home than they realize that they can use too.
Yeah, there's a lot of ways to. When I first got into bikepacking, it was like I bought every bag that was available.
That's why I have extras.
Yeah, it was Revelet. I had like all the Revelet bags. I was like, I need those bags though. And my bike was like 300 pounds, because I filled every bag with all of the stuff that I used, because I poured it over from backpacking as well. I think that's sort of the same story with you, right?
Yeah, I did some backpacking, not a ton. I do love it. I've done a couple trips and in the Grand Canyon and different places. So I had some gear from that, and then I borrowed some gear from my brother-in-law the first trip and from John, and kind of just pieced it together, and then slowly have gathered different pieces.
Yeah. You can do it without having to spend all that money. It is possible. I think I heard a tip when you were on the Detours podcast, maybe they were talking about, Melweb, is it?
Yes,
Melweb?
yeah.
You two were talking about you can just just get a dry bag or something and just strap it with some volet straps on the handlebars.
And the first trip we did, a lot of us did that, and it works really well. And John showed us that trick because we didn't know, there were a ton of us ladies that went on the first trip 3 years ago, and most of us were very we didn't have anything. I mean, we might have had some backpacking gear, but we didn't know what we were doing.
Yeah.
John was very patient in us because we readjusted, I think, every mile someone was readjusting something.
Yeah, something fell out.
Yeah. I think John's bike is really funny because he was carrying like half the stuff by the end because we couldn't figure out how to get it back on our bikes. And it was pretty entertaining. But just taking dry bags, a lot of us have them at home, borrow them, they're not very expensive. Walmart even has dry bags now. And then belay straps, and a lot of us had that for our front, you can work around your front cables and stuff, and it works pretty good, does it flop around a little bit? Yeah, maybe, but for the trip, we were on dirt roads.
Yeah.
This one's on dirt roads, so it's not like super rough terrain, so you don't have to have it, crazy cinched down. So it's a good, cheap way to start.
Yeah, nice. Well, that'll be fun. I think also one of the gateways to bikepacking is the fear of doing the stuff by yourself. I think a lot of people in general, women especially, probably have a fear of going out there and being by yourself in the middle of nowhere and then sleeping by yourself in the middle of nowhere. So this sort of course really helps kind of segue that a little bit. You're getting a little bit of that experience, but there is that safety of the group dynamic.
Exactly. And not only that, just people too, like when I first started, I didn't want to venture by myself. So it was like finding a friend to go with. After the Bikepacking 101 that we did, one of the girls was wanting to go out, and people were telling her, oh, go to BCT. And I'm like, text her, I'm like, we're not ready for that yet.
Yeah.
And so I ended up joining with them at the last minute, and we did, 3 of us, we planned it. It was really good to take our skills, and we just did the Maricopa Trail, and we did 100 miles of it in 3 days. So nothing, crazy epic. We had grocery stores along the way. Mm-hmm. And it was great to be able to figure it out ourselves together and figure out the route, figure out where we were going to sleep, where we were going to eat, all the things. And so we took what we learned, but it was a safe route in town that we could get help if we needed to.
Yeah.
And it was just 3 of us, and John was watching us on our live track, and at one point he texted us like, you guys haven't moved in a really long time.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, we were eating, and then it stormed, and now we're hanging out at Fry's because it's raining, and none of us brought rain gear because it wasn't supposed to rain. I now always have my rain jacket with you. I was laughing because I was just watching Frances, I think, was on, and she was talking about how she always had, I think it was her, always has a rain jacket.
Yeah.
And I was like, I did after that first trip, and it rained on us, and we didn't even take. I had slept in a hammock, and I didn't have. I had this sleeping hammock, and I didn't have the tarp over it because I'm like, it's not supposed to rain. And so we were all trying to figure out if we were all going to fit in my friend's 2-person tent, and we were all just going to hang out there and sleep if we needed to. So ever since then, rain jacket comes with me no matter what.
Yeah. Yeah, that seems, Arizona's so, when it rains a lot. And then it's done.
Yep.
I don't know, this whole philosophy of, there's a group of people that say we just you keep riding. You have a good rain jacket, and then you just keep riding until you're out of the rain, right? And that's the people that bring the minimalist sleep kits kind of thing. And I don't know, sometimes that puts too much pressure on me personally. I'm like, I like to have the option of just being able to have protection somewhere. I don't know, that vulnerability I get of not having the protection of a decent way to keep water out.
That's why I had a tent with me.
Okay.
And I put it up every night.
Yeah.
Because I was like, if it goes to raining or storming, which it almost did once, I was like, I want that. And it was the safety too. My husband doesn't bike pack, so he was very supportive, but we also wanted to make sure I was safe. So we were a tent, I could, if I got hurt or something, I could put up the tent and hang out as long as I needed to and be protected from the elements. So.
Right. Yeah, I mean, weather's about the only thing that's going to protect you from, right?
Yeah.
And not animals. It's like a thin piece of tiny nylon or whatever that it's this facade of protection, though, right?
I can think that it's going to protect me from the animals. So.
Totally. But it is, right? When you're cowboy camping versus being in a tent, there is this facade of you're kind of in this little protected space.
Yeah.
Even though, I don't know, is it really going to deter mountain lions? I don't think so.
Will deter scorpions and bugs.
Yeah, little creepy crawlies for sure in Arizona. That's definitely a big one in here. I set up one time near an ant hill that I didn't know was there, and I was doing like a fast fly sort of setup. So on the Big Agnes seed house tents, they would have this fast fly, so you could do just the poles and the fly, but the bottom was kind of open, right?
My first tent, I have a cupper spur.
Okay.
So
yeah,
and I
same
did
design.
so on the Queen's Ransom. My first year, 3 years ago, I did the Queen's Ransom. Over 4 days, and I heard you did it in 2, which is just insane because 4 days killed me.
Yeah. I didn't get the memo that it was a group ride.
And that's the fun part of it.
I know.
You
I had
missed
no,
the campfires.
I didn't. I had done it previously a couple days prior, or a couple years prior, and I was like really feeling good about going through the night and learning how to do this like ultra racing sort of thing, and I just didn't read the part that John had converted it to a group ride. And so I show up, and nobody really told me at the start either.
That's
and
awesome.
I get on the canals and I get in the aero bars and I'm just like take off, and
you're
everybody's like, "What's up with this jerk? What's he doing?" And I was like, and then I was gone until the next day. I had no idea until John told me like a year later.
We're at campsite 1 and you're done.
I know. Yeah,
We're eating.
I think I was at the McDonald's or something in Florence. I don't know. It was, yeah, I slept 2 hour, hour and a half, 2 hours at Superior.
Oh, that's
behind
crazy.
the grocery store. But that was the first time I had been like broken the threshold of like, well, I didn't go all the way through the night because I slept 2 hours, but it was like, I'm going to do minimal sleep and see how far I can go in one go. Because this was, I don't know, 2021 or something, and I was starting to kind of learn that bikepacking, there was like this sport of, there was this touring bikepacking thing, and then there was this ultra racing thing, and they're almost like two different sports. They share a lot of similarities as far as like you ride a bike and there's gear, but other than that, they're almost completely different disciplines on like what it does to your body and like what you have to pack for and prepare for and everything, right? I really do think that. And touring is so much more fun, but there's something so addictive to racing.
Yeah.
It's I can't, at least while I'm still young enough to be able to
I
pull
wanted
it
to
off.
tour. That's where it all started. I was trying to get someone to tour the AZT800 with me, and I just couldn't get any takers. And
Really?
John was like, "Well, why don't you just do the race?" And I'm like, "Oh, yeah.
That's how that all started,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, pretty much." And then it grew from the AZT300 to the 800. And
So tell me about that moment. Was there like, oh, I'm good, I got this, no problem? Or
No.
was there like much fear?
much fear, a lot of self-talk. So 2 years, I kind of talked a little bit on detours, but I just got into this. Looking back, I probably was depressed. Just really bonking a lot of rides, just really struggling with my weight, with my energy. I turned 40, so maybe there's a midlife crisis in there somewhere. But I just needed a goal. And so I was trying, I had asked a few people, I was like, oh, let's tour the AZT300, because that really kind of, I love single track, I love our Arizona desert, and had never done a lot of the trails on the first part of it. I've done a lot of the Flagstaff trails. And so that was probably like, I don't know, maybe a year and a half. And honestly, I think it was in the back of my mind ever since I started bikepacking. I've heard the stories of the race, but the race always like intimidated me, because all the stories you hear are the people that are in the front of the pack, the people that aren't sleeping. And I was like that. I love the competitive. I grew up running cross country, and but I just was like, I'm not that fast. I don't think I can do that. And so, and then I heard the stories, and I was like, so I think my bike, I was always trying to figure out, a light bike or a setup that I can handle for long days that isn't, because I'm only 5 foot. So, it's always a puzzle. And then I really couldn't get any takers for the 300. And then John and I started riding a lot together. And I did my first Queen's Ransom 3 years ago. And that proved to me that I knew I could do hard things, but I pushed through. It was over 4 days instead of 5 now. Mm-hmm. And I rode to 11:30 one night, rode a lot by myself, didn't have an end range. I would think I was away from texting my husband for like a day and a half, and he's like, yeah, we have to figure that out.
Yeah.
So I really was learning how to navigate and things like that. But, and then I was telling him that I wanted a goal and to focus on something. And so I was going to sign up for the 300. And then that's when John was like, you can do the 800, right? And I'm like, yeah, maybe. Okay. Sure. And it was one of those, I was listening to podcasts at the time, and everyone was like, just sign up and figure it out. So I just took that philosophy, and I'm like, okay, we're going to commit. Well, you can't sign up till the month before, but in my head, mentally, I committed to it and I was going to do this. There wasn't, at first I said, well, I'll get to the 300 and then I'll decide at the 300 point. And then I'm like, no, I have to like commit to the 800 and then not, because if I say I'm going to think about it at the 300, then I won't continue.
Yeah.
So I knew I had to commit. And then I also, I was still bunking on my rides at that point. My energy level was really low. I mean, the Haas Fest, which was in January of last year, I helped lead a ride and I couldn't even make it a 10-mile ride. Like I was like last, and that was not I knew that wasn't where I should have been with all the riding I was doing. And I jumped into the AES ride, the 60-mile that's today, the Antelope one, but I suffered through it. And so I ended up going to all my doctors, and I ended up losing 35 pounds in the year leading up to the AZT. And really just figured out my nutrition, figured out what worked for me, which I figured out is a high protein diet. I do eat carbs, but it's a really high protein diet and low carbs traditionally, which it was kind of funny on the AZT because it took me a while to change my brain and be like, oh, I need to be buying the regular soda. What am I doing here?
Right.
I'm buying the diet soda. I need to stop that. And so that was in the early year. And then I just slowly started building my rides up and my energy was good. And I just, the Arizona summer was hard to train, but I just committed to it. And John and I started doing long rides. He was going to do it this year. He had some health things, so he didn't.
Yeah.
But he helped with my training. And we just started doing long rides. And I have 2 jobs, so I just was like, some people would say, oh, you should be doing this. You should be getting more miles in. And I'm like, it is what it is. And I'll do it, my pace.
And you have celiac disease?
I do. I have a lot of food allergies, which added another layer in my training just in general.
Yeah.
But I'm celiac, and then I'm allergic to soy, dairy, the gluten, and then like sesame, mustard, broccoli.
When did you learn about all these food allergies?
So ever since I was born, I was allergic to soy, dairy, and we knew wheat made me tired. But in the 90s, you didn't have the internet, and so I didn't know soy was in so many things.
Yeah.
And so I didn't really until probably college and beyond. I broke out into a rash, and I was like, okay, I got to figure this out. Went to an allergist probably 15 years ago, and then we did the elimination diet and really took out a lot of the foods. We did the scratch test, all the things, and then brought foods back in.
Okay.
And then that made my stomach so much better. So I got that figured out. But it makes bikepacking challenging because you have to be creative at your resupplies. I can't resupply in gas stations.
For sure. Yeah. You carried like 5 pounds of protein powder or something from the start. Is that right? Did I hear that?
I was measuring out. I'm like, oh my God, this is crazy.
Of medical grade protein powder. Please, what is the difference?
Well, so I actually went to a weight loss center, Scottsdale Weight Loss Center.
Okay.
And he was I liked that place because the physician there, I actually saw a physician every 2 weeks. Every weight loss center is different. And I had to get over the stigma of going to one, but I'm like, I need to figure this out. And the Arizona Trail really gave me like that goal that I was like, okay, I'm going to figure this out. And it's basically has less sugar in it. So a lot of the protein powders, they're getting better, but a lot of them that you buy from the store have a lot of sugar and carbs in them.
Yeah.
So they do have 30 grams of protein, but they also have, 30, 40 grams of carbs.
Right.
So the one that I'm on, forget the name of it, but basically it has it's a true meal replacement. So it has all of your vitamins and nutrients that you would get in a meal, plus it's only like 8 grams of carbs. So it's low sugar. And you have to get them from a physician. I found one site you can get them on, but they're not known. Like you can't really just go to Costco and buy them.
Yeah.
So you have to. That's why I call them medical protein shakes, because everyone asks like, well, which one are you taking? I'm like, well, you can't really get it unless you're followed by a physician.
Yeah. Yeah, I've been taking this like whey protein isolate that I just buy from like bulk supplements. Mm-hmm. It's not a pre-mixed sort of thing. It's just like the isolate powder, I guess. And then I mix the rest of the stuff myself. But yeah, I mean, the whole high protein, diet, I guess to step back a second, like diet's a very individualized thing.
Very.
Anybody that says like they figured out what the best diet is full of shit, like unequivocally, because everybody's different, right? And I've learned that by talking to so many people. Like you operate.
Yeah, everyone asks, well, what'd you do? And I was like, well, this works for me, but it might not work for you. Like I can bike on this low of carbs, but you know, you might need a lot more carbs.
I mean, the reality of it is carbs process faster and your body can access them quicker. So unless you're constantly in this ketogenic state, they're easier for people to adapt to and process when they're doing sports. They're just quick burning carbs.
Right.
So like for most people, that's going to work probably pretty well. There are some people like you and like there's ultra endurance running athletes who are able to go, you know, high protein, high fat and low carb and operate. But there's like a point of diminishing returns with that stuff too. Like you can't get that explosive power all the time that I think some of these elite athletes need.
Yeah, and I still was taking carbs, like especially on this. Like, I mean, the first day I had potato and bacon, and my pack that I made at home.
Okay.
I'm like, oh, I can have that at least the first day.
Right.
So I definitely was still eating carbs. Like, I don't count carbs. I don't think I'm in keto actually most of the time. But I probably do, 50, 60 grams of carbs on a normal day. But I do, beans, potatoes. And so on this, I mean, I was eating, I think one night in Flagstaff, I had an entire bag of potato chips. And I'm like, oh, I should have bought another bag.
Yeah.
I just don't do, I didn't do a lot of candy and things like that. But I did do a lot of, I think hamburger and French fries at every restaurant I stopped at. You know? So I was definitely doing. And as I went through, I realized I learned a lot about nutrition. I would say that's probably I'd never done anything more than the Queen's Ransom is like 5 days, and we have, resources for food. So I had never done anything longer than that. That I really figured out. Like how many calories, I underestimated calories a few times and I didn't count them. But I definitely ate a lot of peanut butter one day.
Yeah. Out of a jar, right?
Out of a jar.
Yeah, just
because I started eating more, and then I realized I need to eat every hour and I need to take in, more carbs and more food. So as I went, I definitely was taking in more carbs, and I was, and down south buying Diet Cokes, and I was like, wait a minute, I need to be buying regular Coke, and I need to be buying the coffee with the full sugar in it, and so I definitely was still taking carbs, just not maybe what not the 100 grams of carbs that some people say that they take. That's insane. I'm like, I don't even know if I take that half a day on this ride.
Yeah, I mean, I just interviewed Dexter Copas, and it's unbelievable how much he's trained his gut to be able to process, but he's also putting out 350 watts.
Yeah.
Regularly. His body is able to he's just physiologically completely different than both of us.
I've always been an endurance person, and so I think for endurance it's we joke oh, this is my endurance pace. My friends they're I'll text now recently, hey, let's go for a ride, and they're like, well, I don't know, we're gonna go slow, and I'm like, dude, just because I rode my bike for 19 days doesn't mean that it was fast.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm fine with slow. So the endurance pace, I think to sustain all day is different than those short bursts. I used to run 5K in high school. Way different for a 20-minute race that you're all out, or even an hour and a half. I used to do the NBA series a couple years ago, than that all-day effort. So I think you just can fuel different, for something that you're. And I bonked some days, or I don't know. It could just been the fact that I was climbing 6,000 feet every day. That why I was tired. Some days there's that.
Yeah.
But. It's for me, it was taking in, I learned about probably what I've heard on here, 200 calories every hour. Most of my snacks are about 150 to 200 calories for each snack. So I would stop those later days into the race and take more food.
How did you remind yourself to eat often like that?
The AZT gates.
Okay, that's a good trick.
So especially up on Babbitt Ranch area, there is a gate pretty much every 45 minutes. So I'd be like, okay, I'm going to stop at the hour. And it gave me something to focus on too, because it's a lot of open land up there. And then I was like, or a gate. So if there was a gate that I had to get off for, it was time to, I would eat something.
Yeah.
And there are a lot of gates on the ACT. So.
Yeah, that's a good tip. Every time you have to get off your bike or hike a bike, because it is hard to, it's hard to eat on a race like Arizona Trail that's just mostly single track. It's hard to just eat. It's hard to eat. Take your hands off your handlebars.
Yeah. I have to stop to eat. I stopped to eat. And it's good. I do it when I'm doing something else, you know, I think, oh, you know, need to eat. It was funny because I ran into a thru hiker up outside of Flagstaff. And she was amazing. She's one of the few thru hikers I ran into. I think I only ran into 3, which is crazy.
Oh, wow.
And so I was talking to her, and I start like, not even thinking, I open my bag and I start eating, and she's like, oh yeah, eat. She goes, every biker I stop. She knew all about the race. She talked to all of us, and she was like, every biker I stop, that's what they do. They eat while they're talking to me. So you just get used to, without even thinking, to like every time you're stopped doing something, to start eating something as well.
That's hilarious. Just shoving it in and saying, hey, how are you doing?
And she's like,
I'm busy.
She was like telling me how to get into, you know, Flagstaff earlier, because I was trying to figure out, at that point I knew I wasn't going to make where I wanted to go into Flagstaff. And so like, it was a really good conversation, but it was really funny. I'm like, yeah, let's get some food in.
Nice. Yeah. So you wrote some great recaps on your Instagram, so folks should go check those out.
And I made them public. So on my Instagram and my Facebook, I think my Instagram is public, but I made them both public so that you can check them out without even being friends with me.
Nice. Yeah. So it seemed like generally, if I had to wrap it all up into a bow, the theme was blisters, trail angels, and one pedal stroke at a time.
Yes.
That was pretty much the common through line in everything. I mean, the blisters seemed to kind of taper off towards the end.
Oh God, thank God they got better.
So why blisters aren't really a common thing? At least, like, I haven't heard about it a lot in bikepacking. Why did it happen to you?
Because of the lemon push.
Was it?
Blame it on the lemon push.
The lemon push's fault?
It's the lemon push's fault. I had worn those shoes. The shoes were awesome. So I wore Danner hiking shoes.
Okay.
Got them about, I don't know, a couple months before, because I was looking for, I do flat pedals. Always have mountain biking. My background is road biking, and so I can clip in, but mountain biking just gives me the confidence. And on something like the AZT, when you're hiking so much, it was a no-brainer. I was going to wear flats. So I got hiking shoes, and they were awesome. I've hiked in them. I was doing all my training hikes in them. No issues with blisters whatsoever. They fit great. I do orthotics in them, so super comfortable shoes. But I'm only 5 foot, and I think a lot of times, I started getting hot spots on lemon push. I know that's when it happened. But the boulders, it's just getting your weighted bike up on those boulders, and then I put my foot down and on these rocks, and you're in these, like, your feet aren't in a natural position because you're holding up your 50-pound bike at the same time. And so my foot would be, sideways, or I'm catching myself. And then so I just think it was the difference of normal hiking, because now you're pushing your 50-pound bike up these boulders.
Yeah.
And I had to be kind of creative in how I was doing it. I wish I was like about a foot taller. I was like, can I just become a foot taller for just a lemon push, and then I can be 5 foot again? But when your bike pretty much comes up as tall as you, it was, and then there are a lot of times where, like, my bike's getting ready to slide. Thank God I did it at night, I think, because I couldn't see the abyss. I couldn't see the mountain that I was falling off of.
Yeah.
Because, like, my bike would, like, start to, like, go down the mountain, and then you're pulling it back, and your feet are just in weird positions. So I started to get hot spots on Green Mountain, which is about halfway up. For me, Green Mountain was the hardest part of it. And so I stopped. It was like 8:30 at night. I stopped and tried to address that hot spot. I probably didn't do it early enough because I was just wanting to get done with that. I was tired, not thinking right. And then that's where it kind of started. And they weren't on my toes. They weren't even blisters. They were like pressure sores. So I'm a nurse. And they were more just like, they never formed like a blister forms. They were more pressure sores.
Okay.
And so open skin. So it's just like, it doesn't form that like
the
bubble.
Pocket.
Yeah.
With the pus inside.
Exactly.
Yeah, okay.
And so, and I probably just didn't, like I said, address them early enough. But I think it was just from all the hiking. I mean, you hike for like 12 hours. With your heavy bike. And so I think and then they just progressively got worse because I didn't probably take care of them early enough.
You had a pretty heavy backpack too, right?
I did.
What do you think that contributed at all to it, or were you kind of used to those boots with that
Yeah,
backpack?
I don't think the backpack, thankfully I got no pressure sores. I was worried about that. I've had saddle sores.
Oh,
I've had saddle sores
right.
in the past. And I
Right.
know the backpack can contribute to saddle sores because you're putting pressure on the bike. I didn't have any problems when I was on my pedals. I guess when you're hiking, maybe I did move my bottles. I took the advice from Alexandra and Strumke's, who said, take as much as you can. I had a heavy backpack because I had all my food in there.
Yeah.
But I did move my bottles, which was 4 pounds off of the front of my bike. So I think that really helped for the lemon push too. I honestly think it was just the weird positions I was like putting my feet in. I mean, I've backpacked and not really gotten blisters, and you carry a heavy backpack there.
Right.
This one was comfortable. It had a frame. So it really didn't bother me too much. I just think it was just the constant with your 50-pound bike and that constant dynamic of trying to not crash as your bike's like pulling you over.
Right. Yeah. And then it's just once you reach a certain point, it takes forever for them to heal or.
Yeah, because I didn't get any. I wore through the Grand. I actually bought new shoes. The AZT will tear up your shoes. I have learned. And I was like looking at the soles, and I'm like, yeah. I wish I'd taken a picture. The soles were gone. Like you could see the white part of the shoe. The sole was like.
Wow.
Gone in parts.
And these are hiking boots. These are Danner hiking boots.
Yeah, well, they were the hiking shoes, but Danner.
Right.
Yeah.
These are not like bike shoes, right? That are usually softer, or, you know.
They were hiking shoes. And so I actually bought new shoes in the REI in Flagstaff. And so I hadn't broke those in, switched over my orthotics into them. So I still had my orthotics. So I had brand new shoes, same shoes, but brand new, with my orthotics, and I didn't get any blisters. They were healed before I got to the Grand Canyon, thank God. And I didn't get any in the Grand Canyon. So I think it was really just the rocks and really trying to support my bike.
Yeah. Does moisture play a role in that? Like, you know?
It could, but my feet weren't wet. Like, it was a dry... I didn't really have any moisture issues, I don't think. I think it was, in hindsight, I would have stopped. Like, you know, you feel that little bit and you just like, oh, it'll be fine. I keep going. And I know from backpacking that you shouldn't keep going. And finally at 8:30, I did stop. And there's not good places on Green Mountain to stop. Like, it's just this single track trail up these boulders. So finally I found good rocks to sit on, lay my bike down, and I actually stopped and didn't want to take the time, but took my shoes off, got out my whole blister kit, figured out how to like get something on them. But in hindsight, I would have done that at the very first sign of any pain, but I didn't, so I paid for it.
You paid for it, and I think let me find the quote here. Let's see.
Almost ended my race for sure.
All the way down Picketpost, all I could think about was scratching, and this spiraled me into a low point. I didn't want to scratch, but I was in a lot of pain, and I just couldn't see how my feet would make it another day, let alone 560 more miles. No one was at the trailhead.
Yeah, that was the only time a lot in that 13 miles that I thought about the whole trail. Most of the time I was doing this literally, as you said at the beginning, one pedal stroke at a time. I just thought about in the moment what I was doing, and I would think about where maybe where I'm going to sleep that night. I'd have that goal, or because I knew a little bit of the trail, so I knew being local is nice. So I'd ridden a lot of the trail through the Arizona Endurance Series rides, which was the best thing I did. So I did know some of it.
Yeah.
And so being able to, but I didn't really think much beyond that first day. I mean, the fact that it took me 8 days, 7 days, 2 hours, I think, to get to Picketpost, I didn't think about really my end game. I had taken a month off work. So that was the only time I thought about how much I really had left. And I was like, oh my God, I'm not even halfway. And I getting up to the rain collector, it was that hiking. It was my feet hurt so bad hiking up to the rain collector that night, which is on top of Picketpost.
Right.
And I knew that, so I wanted to get there, Martinez Canyon.
Right.
I know that area, so I was like, I want to get there. I want to sleep there. I don't have a choice. That 25 miles, probably good that 25 miles is so remote, no one can come back and get you there. There's no roads. Although my friends did forge the river, which was an amazing surprise down at the Gila, because you're really in the middle of nowhere. And but so when I was like, okay, I have to get to at least Picketpost. Like, I don't have an option. I have to get there.
Right.
And so I got up to the rain collector, and then, as the best advice I can ever give that was given to me a long time ago, was always sleep on it. I had to sleep on it that night. I did not have a choice because there was no one coming to get me up at the rain collector. Thomas, another racer, was up there. He had gotten up there a couple hours earlier, but I had been hopscotching him a lot. And so that was the only time I slept where there was another racer was up there.
Yeah.
He was already asleep, but he got up super early. But then I know that stretch. So I knew it was 13 miles to get down. And that was the stretch that we had epic rain in Phoenix or in Arizona about a month before the AZT race. So that whole stretch, there had been a lot of reports that it was very blown out.
Okay.
And so I knew that there'd be a lot more hiking that I was hoping for. And so it took me a little bit to get down there, but I was just like, that whole time, so while you're hiking and you're biking, and I was like, there's just no way I can make it. I mean, my feet hurt so bad. I was like 500 more miles, and that's the only thing I think about. And I really didn't want to scratch, but I was like, I'm close to home. I live in Mesa. My husband could come get me. Like, that was probably the closest I am to all my friends. Like, there was someone that could drive out to Picketpost and get me that morning. And so it's like that pool of, it's basically in my backyard. And you did a thing. You're at the 300 finish. So I was like, okay, I at least finished the 300. But thankfully, when I got down to Picketpost, and no one's there, it's the true, like, bikepacking, like, even though I'm doing the 800, it's still the 300 finish, of course. It's Tuesday morning, I think, Monday morning. So there was no hikers or anything. And I get my shoes off, and I'm like, I got to look at my feet and see what's going on here. And so I was rebandaging them, and then this guy just shows up to hike. I forget his name. He told me his real name. And he was so excited. He was like talking to me what I was doing. He was so excited. He was like, oh my God, I love supporting people on the trail. And he was like giving me all this food. And he was like, I don't have much food, but I have trail food. Do you need electrolytes? And he was doing all these things. It was enough to take my brain off of the fact, because I'd never made, one of my friends actually called me and I didn't even answer it. Because everyone was like texting me that, you finished the 300, and she called me and I didn't even answer it because I was like, I can't have a conversation with someone right now because I will probably say, come and get me.
Yeah.
So I was like, then she texted me, she's like, you might not have service. And I was like, well, really, I'm not going to tell you till later. The reason why I can't talk to you right now is I may want you to come get me. And then this guy shows up, and it took my brain off of the fact that I wanted to scratch. And so I think subconsciously, because after I was talking to him, and then I was, he took my picture, and I just got back on my bike and kept pedaling. And I was like, there wasn't even really a decision, but I was like, I think because he was there, I don't want to show him that, hey, I'm quitting. I just told him I was doing the 800. And so I just thought immediately, I knew that area. Thankfully for the Queens Ransom, I knew I could get to Queens Valley. It's all dirt roads. And so I was like, I'm going to get to Queens Valley. I'm going to have lunch. I'm going to have food. Yeah. There's a store. I had plenty of food with me still, but I can eat. There's two restaurants actually there in the middle of nowhere. Yeah. The taco shop wasn't open, but this at the golf course, they were open. It's just like this small restaurant. It was so cute. The owner, I think it was the owner, sat down with me and was like really interested in what I was doing.
Nice.
So I knew I could get there. And then it's not that far to Gold Canyon. And so I was like, it's all dirt roads. I won't be hiking. I know this area. I love Gold Canyon trails. I know that. So I knew that whole stretch.
Yeah.
And so I was like, okay. Then I just started focusing on, I'm going to get to the hotel tonight. It was 8 days in. I had not showered. I had not slept in a hotel. I was in the same clothes. I was like, I need to just reset. Yeah. I'm going to sleep on it tonight. Because I was always told, sleep on it. And I think that drives you also, I was thinking about it, to the next day, right? So if you always sleep on it, you're always going to get to that next day. So I'm like, tomorrow could be better. So I can't give up now. I'm going to sleep on it. I'm going to get to the hotel. And once I got to the hotel, my husband actually came out and said hi, and a few friends, because I'm, close to home. And I didn't even think about at that point, even though I had people there, I wasn't even thinking about scratching anymore because I made it past that low point.
Yeah.
It really showed me that like you can push through. You just got to push through those low points. And then that night I was in Gold Canyon. My feet still hurt, but I love those trails. It's golden hour. I'm like up on these ridges. It's like I was riding good again. I felt good. And then I came out of Gold Canyon. It was early. That was going to be an early day too. It was like 5:30 because I was just headed to, I knew I was going to stay in the hotel at Gold Canyon. Which
Right.
I didn't even know Gold Canyon had a hotel, and I've ridden out there a lot, which is really funny when I was doing research for the race.
Yeah. There's a Bash's too, right?
It's a nice hotel. Yeah, it's right. It's not far. What saved me, there is a drugstore in the parking lot of the hotel.
Oh,
so
okay.
I bought all things blister care that night.
Beautiful.
But John was standing there. So he had to work, so he wasn't at the 300 finish.
Right.
But he came out that night and saw me as I came off the trail, which I wasn't expecting. And he took this awesome picture of Superstitions in the background. And I'm like, oh my God, so many emotions going on in that picture right now. Because I had made it to the end of the day. I did not scratch. And then there's John, which was awesome to see. And I got to ride with him down to the Bash's parking lot where he was parked. So I had made it to the end of the day. But ending on a high note, even though my feet still hurt, I really enjoyed the Gold Canyon trails. I like those trails.
Yeah.
And enjoyed the getting, I knew I was going to have a hotel tonight and take a shower. So
Yeah, it seems like this is just, it's a series of highs and lows, and it's like how good you get at managing the lows.
Yeah.
That's what will give you success in ultra sports in general, I think. A listener just messaged me the other day and asked me if I thought that the Arizona Trail 300 was harder or easier than the Stagecoach 400. And I was like, well, physically, the Arizona 300 is harder. Physically, it's a harder thing on your body. But psychologically, I think the Stagecoach 400 is harder. Because to your point of what you said earlier, yeah, there's all these comforts there. They're like the sirens from the Odyssey.
So.
Yeah.
I'm thinking about doing the 400 or the Stagecoach this year, and I was like, oh my God, I gotta not think that my in-laws live, a few miles from the course.
Well, yeah, and there's just access to everything, and it's like a vortex and a trap. And with AZT, it's like when you're out there, to your point of being up at the rain collector at Martinez Canyon, it's like, well, if I wanted to scratch, nobody's coming to get me, so I got to ride anyway.
Yeah.
So it's like a really easy decision.
It was like later I was reading, I think I figured it out. I think I saw it on the race, but Alex had to walk. He had to hike out. He ended up getting a tire, but
Schultz,
Schultz. Because he had tire issues up there, and you can't it's so there's a lot of desolate places on the AZT, but that stretch for 25 miles, definitely no one is coming in to get you. There's no access.
For sure.
So you're hiking.
And it feels remote.
Yeah.
I mean, you feel like you're a million miles away from everything when you're in Martinez Canyon. It's one of my most favorite places on the Arizona Trail.
I love that area. I'm so glad I did it at night, and I'm so glad I've done it because we sleep in the middle of it now for the Queen's Ransom of Martinez Canyon. So I've done it in the daylight. So that was nice that I was okay hiking that at night because I knew that I had seen it, and it's a whole different feel at night.
Yeah.
But I really love just that whole Gila area, and I know it, and so it was nice getting to familiar territory after hiking up and down Mount Lemmon. Oracle Ridge should not be uphill. That was I knew people had told me about Oracle Ridge, but I didn't want to process Oracle Ridge. I didn't actually know that it was until I looked at my Garmin, and all you see is red on the elevation profile for you're like, I'm going down. I'm supposed to be on the backside of Mount Lemmon.
Everybody can say it. We'll say it to you now. Everyone listening, it's not down, but you don't know until you're in it. Yeah. And then you're really in it.
And then when you go down on that side, you're hiking a lot of it. Yeah. But it's not the fun.
Well, yeah, you think you're gonna get up to the Summer Haven and just resupply and just cruise on down to Oracle, right? Yeah. And it's just not that at all. It's probably the most. I haven't done the lemon push yet, but some of that treacherous trail conditions on Oracle Ridge, I just remember dodging stuff that wanted to
my
poke
gosh.
me while my bike was like falling off. I went over the bars in that section.
There were surprising things on Oracle Ridge. Like, so I get through the lemon push, and I'm thinking the whole time, oh my god, my bike made it. Like,
yeah.
How did my carbon bike make it through the lemon push? But then you get on Oracle, and there's these like boulders that like you take one step to the left, you're going off the cliff, and then to the right is the mountain.
Yeah,
right?
it's like a vertical
and then you have to
mountain.
go up the rocks, and the whole time I was like, okay, made it up lemon push, I can do this. I was doing it in the dark, of course, because that was a theme. Also, another thing my AZT was being on a ridge in the dark and hiking, because I think I did that 4 or 5 times. But I was like, I can hike in the dark. So and once you get on those ridges, you're committed to getting off them.
Yeah.
There isn't really a lot of places.
Are you afraid of heights?
No,
Okay.
no. I just different tangent, but John said to me, like, I think the night of we become really good friends, and the night of when we were down camping, he was like, make your hike a bike intentional. What does that mean?
Yeah.
I was like, so the whole first day of the AZT, I'm like, what does he mean by this? Make your hike a bike intentional. For me, what it meant was I can hike. I don't like night. I like night riding if it's non-technical and I know the trails, but I don't have great night vision. And so I have to have my lights up super bright to do night riding. So then you're going to run through your batteries.
Okay.
And so I'm not a huge fan. I obviously did a lot of night riding. So for me, it worked out well that like hiking, I can hike just as fast almost at night than I can during the day on these technical trails, and I can use a lot less light. So my batteries are, I can have them on the low mode and save my batteries and make some progress on the trail at night by hiking. And it just worked out that a lot of the hikes, a lot of the ridges that you get on the 300, I hit them at night. I did the Lemon Push almost all at night. I did Oracle Ridge at night. I did Martinez Canyon at night.
Okay.
So a lot of the big hikes I did at night until like 11:30 at night. It just seemed to be, and I was like, so for me, intentional hike a bike, I was like, oh, I can. And my husband would text me, and he was like, and he's not a biker, and he was like, you can hike all night long, keep pushing. I was like, you're right, I can. And when you're tired, I feel like I crash more if I'm riding at night and you're tired. But when you're hiking, you have more. You might be slower, but you have more control, and I can hike fatigued. So it's like it worked out that I didn't mind. But I think on a lot of my recaps on my videos, I'm like, here's a great, and you see great sunsets on these ridges at night and great views of the city. But I'm like, here's my theme. Here I am on a ridge again at night hiking. So let's do this. I'm probably going to be hiking for several hours. So Oracle Ridge was no different. But the boulders, so that's where I bent my derailleur. So I threw my bike into the wall. I actually luckily fell on a bush and not down, but it just got off balance with my heavy bike.
Yeah.
And there are more moments like that on Oracle Ridge, I think, than even on Green Mountain on the Lemon Push. There's just these weird boulders like that you come across on there, and you're tired. And I think that's where I know that's where I probably bent my derailleur.
Yeah.
Was on there.
And so then it was just like gears jumping around after that, and just not
didn't
shifting
realize
well.
it till going down Oracle. You do go down some, which is nice.
Yeah.
And it just started to just not shift great in the like half of the cog, the top half of the cog. And I've always been told that that's probably a bent derailleur when that happens, if it's like half your cog or something, or just a few gears. And it was fine. I could ride, but I knew like I wouldn't be able to do the whole thing. So I started to think like, what am I going to do? How bad is it? I rode. Still a lot of hiking. I got to Hijinks Camp. And a lot of people don't know there is electricity there.
Oh, really?
So I found it on the Far Out app. So I read all the comments on the Far Out app about Hijinks Ranch, and behind the carriage there is an outlet.
Nice.
So it's really weird because you're camping in this guy's like, and I think he was there because I heard like noise, and I'm like, I think he's in his house. But he allows through hikers and through bikers to camp, and so basically I'm in his driveway.
Yeah, right.
And there's 2 water sources there, and then I had electricity. So I wanted to get the Hijinks Camp so that I could charge things all night. So I was like, if I can get there, I can charge things all night,
Right.
and be ready to go. So I slept on it, and I magically thought that my gears were going to work in the morning. I was like, I'm not going to worry about this till morning. They're just going to work. But I made it all the way to there, and then I got going, and I was like, yeah, there's an issue here. I think I bent my derailleur. And so I just started getting on. Thankfully, I had service there, and I knew that there were mobile bike mechanics. I'd heard, I didn't know the company, but I'd heard some people had used them on the AZT before. Mm-hmm. So I was hoping that he was out of Tucson, and so I just Googled mobile bike mechanic out of Tucson, and I think it's called Anywhere Bikes comes up. Great guy, and I text him and I call him on the number, and then I just keep writing, and I'm like, I hope he calls me back when I have service. Thankfully, I had service almost all the way to Oracle. But he called me back, and he had a busy morning, and he was awesome. He actually, I think, rearranged his schedule and we came up with a meeting time and met me in Oracle. And I was like, great, I can get breakfast. So I rode really hard through Oracle State Park to get to Oracle. And we pretty much got there at the same time, and I was able to get breakfast. He fixed in like 10 minutes, fixed my derailleur, and I was back on the road.
Nice.
So,
yeah.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah. Didn't have to change it. He was just able to bend it back.
Oh, really?
Yeah. It was just slightly bent, just enough. And I could still switch gears. It was just acting up. So I was able to ride all the way the hour and a half to Oracle. Yeah. It was just enough that I knew that it was going to cause me an issue later on if I didn't fix it.
And you didn't have an extra one.
Yeah.
Right? Didn't carry. No.
No.
I mean, I'm assuming it's a universal derailleur hanger, the UDH that's on. It's a pivot less.
Yeah.
Right?
So it has a lot of parts. So I bought it from Chloe Woodruff. And so it has and he was funny that the guy was like, you have like racing parts on here, right? And I was
okay.
like, yeah, maybe I should probably change those out. But they were good parts when I got them. So it has a lot of her sponsored parts on it when I bought it from her, and I hadn't needed to change them out yet. So they're slowly getting changed out now. But he was like, I'm like, yeah, I know, don't worry.
They're just like lightweight, maybe more fragile parts. Yeah.
The brake, like the shifter. I really, I had taken my bike in the shop, and as we do, and I had gotten all new things that you could, new chain, new brake pads, all that. But the AZT just beats it up. So I literally limped my bike. And we had a couple pep talks that last day, and I was like, you just there's no bike shops up here, because the shifter was having issues. My driver post was having issues. The shifter was like, I now have a new shifter. It crashed too many times, and it just didn't like have any tension to it. I think there was a spring or something in the shifter, but so like, I'm like, you just have to keep shifting. You have 2 more days to make it.
Yeah.
You can do this.
I think we're going to have to take a little break. We got a guy mowing his lawn. We're dealing with the Endurance Studio problems, which today is someone getting their landscaping done just over here in a house. So we'll see how that goes. So you were saying you do public speaking. You practice it, or do you take or you do it for a living now?
For a living now, I guess. So I am a nurse at our local children's hospital at Phoenix Children's in rare disease. So I've been a nurse there for 20 years. Now I'm in genetics. So I'm in rare disease. So I manage 250 patients with a rare disorder. And the drug companies in rare disease are a little bit different than normal drug companies, and they do a lot of disease education. And so I do a lot of disease education for them to providers and to patients. So about 20 events a year, both local and nationally. So they fly me to different areas to do these. And sometimes it's 6 people, sometimes it's 20 people.
Yeah.
But they did do a couple years ago, it was after 2 years ago, we got together, and they actually, for all the speakers, we actually did speaker training, which was awesome.
Okay.
I'd never had public speaking training.
Okay.
And it was like a day, and it's actually really, really cool. And so we did, so I just, over these events, have gotten better at it. I never liked public speaking before this.
Yeah.
I do like education, and I do love these events. So it's just become better and more natural over the years.
Yeah. I think you get used to it, right? You cross these like thresholds when you do these events. What's the biggest number of eyeballs have been staring back at you when you've been in an event?
Yeah. So I did speak at a conference, not for the drug companies. I actually submitted my poster probably 5-6 years ago at our big national conference. And that was my first. That was before I did a lot of public speaking. And I got picked for a podium presentation. There were probably 3,000 people in the room because the big conference for these disorders, we are all in one room for all the main. It's every 15 minutes someone else gives their research.
Okay.
And so they had picked mine for, it was a case study of one of our patients, but for one of the podiums. And I practiced that thing like crazy.
Yeah.
So that was really my intro, I guess, into public speaking. But most of my audiences are, I've done some smaller local conferences that they've had me speak at, which might be like 40, 50 people. But most of the things I do are, I think last night we had like 18 nurses there. So, and these, even though they're not my direct colleagues, usually I'm speaking to providers, MDs, or nurses, or patients. So it's something I feel comfortable with. So it's been a fun environment to really practice in because these are my peers, essentially.
Yeah. And if you're passionate and you know what you're talking about, my parents always told me that when I was growing up and I was like getting into public speaking things. They were like, if you know what you're doing and you're passionate about it, it should be easy to talk about it to people. And if you're like excited about, or you're excited to educate other people about this topic, it's easier.
Exactly. Right. And the decks are always the same. Usually we have a couple different decks. Okay. The drug company comes up with the deck, the PowerPoint, and then I can say what I want about, we get trained, but about that deck. I have to just use their slides.
Right.
So it guides you, but it's what I do every day. So it's what I teach my patients. It's what we teach in clinic. It's I've been doing this for 10 years. So like you said, it's a passion, and I love rare disease. I love educating our patients. So it really is a passion of mine. So I just make it a conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That comes off too. It's really difficult when you have to try and sell something to somebody that you don't care about and you don't know about. So like me and it was middle school student council when I was trying to run for whatever class, whatever my parents made me run for class president or whatever.
Yeah, don't have to do that.
Didn't know, that was like throw the feet in the fire.
I would clam up for that still, even today.
It was like I'd much rather just talk about bikes on a podcast all day long.
The provider who mentored me, I love him, Dr. Alec. He is now retired, but he used to do these speaking events, and he was the one who kind of got me into it as well. And he said, and I would get nervous, especially talking to providers, but I'm not talking to other genetic providers. They're usually providers in the community who don't know these rare disorders, and we're trying to help them either care for a patient or get patients diagnosed. And he was like, you know way more than they do about this topic. So it was like, own it. And that's really, I took that advice that even though they're a provider and I would get intimidated, it was like, I know. He was like, you know way more about this specific topic than they do, even though they're a GI doctor or whatever, well known in their field. So
yeah. Do you think that your journey through bikepacking has helped you build confidence kind of alongside this journey too?
Oh yeah. I came off the trail just being independent and pushing through things. I was really, getting frustrated at work and just, I knew I wasn't myself. And so I needed that time away. And on the trail, it was like, I didn't think, it changed me more than I thought it would, but just being able to tackle, knowing that you can rely on yourself and get through things.
Right.
And, I had never really I had camped before, but not by myself. And just the problem solving, you can't, a couple months before on a training ride, the AES did a overnight, a stage bikepacking up, and I'm so thankful I went because it was on the North Rim before, weeks before it burned down in the North Kaibab. So It was in June. So it was literally, I think, 3 weeks before the fires, and there were 6 of us. I was going to do the 230 or the 230 route, and no one ended up signing up for that in the end. Everyone ended up the other people ended up signing up for the shorter one. The 230, they had a staging. It was first year, I think they did it this way, and they had a staging out of State Line Campground. I'm like, oh great, I can I'd never been up to North Kaibab at all, seen that part of the state for the AZT, and never been to State Line Campground. So I took my husband's truck, and I got a flat tire on the road to State Line Campground, and by myself. I had not seen anybody when I turned off onto that road, and I was in his truck, so it's kind of, familiar but unfamiliar vehicle of me. And we thought, oh, we're doing good by me taking his truck instead of my car. I think I picked up some kind of nail on the I-17 because they were doing all the construction for the new lanes on the I-17, and then that road got it loose, I think is what happened.
Right.
But it was right after I got out of service. So I'd had service, and then literally I think a mile after I got out of service, I get this flat tire at 8 o'clock at night. And I panicked. I hit my SOS button on my inReach. At one point, I'm like texting my husband on it. No one's getting back to me. They were like, I just thought, blindly, like they'd be able to send someone out to help me change it. They were going to, I think, tow me. We went back and forth, but it was kind of nice to know, like, I can use the inReach. I know what the SOS button means. It's not like this foreign thing, and you just text a ranger, which was really cool. So I was just
Is that how it works?
Yeah.
I've never talked to anyone that's hit the SOS button.
So it was a good experiment.
Yeah.
A little embarrassed that I actually did that, but then that taught me too that, like, take deep breaths. I can get through this, and like I can do this on my own. I need to be able to do this on my own. If things come up on the trail. So if you hit your SOS button, and actually it goes to a call center, and then the calls, and you just text. You're texting them, and at that point, it's free texting. Is not part of your plan or anything. So anything you do with that, it doesn't take off of your texting for your plan.
And this is the inReach that has the texting capabilities, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Which is nice. That was one reason why I got the inReach, but so you can text through your phone full messages. So I'm texting through my phone.
Oh, it's like Bluetooth to your phone.
Yeah.
And then, so it all works offline still.
Yeah. So it's still through satellite, but it's on your phone. You're doing the app on your phone.
Got it.
So I'm sending, just like you're sending a text, but through the inReach app, the messenger app.
Okay.
And then
and it's routed to like the nearest ranger station.
Yeah, I think it actually goes to a call center because I was talking to someone who then would figure out what was going on, and then they routed me to the right people. So because of my situation, he just routed me to a ranger, I think, versus like maybe 911 services or like search and rescue or something. So I think they can route you to who you need to. So then I just started talking to this ranger, and he asked me a lot of questions like, are you safe tonight? Do you have food and water? I'm like, I have food and water for 6 days because I'm getting ready to go bikepacking. So I have that part handled. I'm good. And so slept in the truck that night in the middle of this road. And I was like trying to decide, do I bike to State Line Campground? There might be someone there to help, but actually there were storms opening up, so I'm glad I didn't, because I probably would have got stuck in this epic thunderstorm that happened all night. And so I ended up starting to fix it the next morning. Then we figured out, I was texting a lot of people through that. I went over my texting, but the people coming out for the ride, Ian was coming out, my friend Ian and Garrett, and I was able to text them, and they were gonna come. I was just gonna hang out all day, and they were gonna come the next day and help me out. But I ended up getting out the bike pump and my bike plugs and trying to plug the tire.
Oh, yeah.
And I was actually like 90% successful using our bike plugs.
The bacon strips?
Yeah, the bacon strips, but with the tire. And I got it actually like enough air in it that I started rolling down the street, and I was like, if I just go really slow back to the main road, I'll run into people. I had to get off that dirt road, right?
Yeah.
And then I ran into these two guys caravanning and in trucks, and they were going to section hike the last part of the AZT. And they were super nice, and he's like, it doesn't look flat. And I'm like, well, yeah, because I kind of like tried to fix it with my bacon strips, and I'm like, don't even ask. And he was like, so they ended up changing it for me, which was nice. They joked they were my pit crew, and we got it changed and got back on the road, and ended up still jumping in with them and doing. I actually that day I went to Jacobs Lake, hung out, and then rode I think 25 miles north from like Jacobs Lake area. So I saw almost the whole AZT on that side except for the last 10 miles. So it was cool now that we can't get up there, that I was able to ride a lot of that trail, which was nice.
Yeah. Do you think it'll be open this year? You think they're going to open it?
Oh, that's the big question.
Yeah, the big question. I've heard whispers.
My gut is saying maybe by the fall in the race, hopefully.
Yeah.
It's not going to open on May 15th. I think there's a lot of motivation behind fixing it or getting it at least. I've heard a lot of rumors that maybe they'll designate it as a wilderness trail, like much like, what is that one? The non-corridor trails that you enter at your own risk that aren't as maintained.
I see.
But it still needs to be safe, right? So I think they're waiting till the snow melt to assess it.
Right.
And see what the snow melt does this year. I mean, we've had a really warm winter, so maybe we'll have a winter that isn't an epic snowstorm up there and the trail won't degrade more.
Yeah.
But I think that's the big question. I don't even think the national park knows what the snow is going to do to the trail. But I don't think it'll open on May 15th, but I think they'll try to get it open.
Is that the normal? Is May 15th like the normal date every
for
year?
the North Rim?
Yeah, I see.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
I don't think it'll open then, but...
I heard something about it was also an infrastructure problem with the water treatment facility because that was burned down, and that's part of what the chlorine gas that leaked down into which caused some of the initial closures.
I don't think that's... North Rim will be open for a long time because of that. I think they're going to have to build a new water treatment plant.
And then
I think before they can do any
right.
infrastructure up there.
Like to allow your, regular visitors on the North Rim.
But I think they're trying to get the trail open. So you wouldn't
Right.
have any services. Like you're not even going to have bathrooms, I
Right.
think. But I think they're trying to hopefully get the trail open. And then you can go through. So you wouldn't be able to it'd only be for AZT. You wouldn't be able to, I don't even know if they'll let you access it for probably for pickup. I think the Rem to Rem community. So I got on a lot of those websites when I thought I was going to be doing the full thing, just to learn. I've done backpacking in the Grand Canyon, but I've never been on from the waterfall up on the North Rim.
Okay.
Or North Kaibab.
Yeah.
So I was getting on a lot of those podcasts and sites and, learning about it. And that community is there's a lot of people in that community. And so I think the push to open it, but I think it will be just the trail use, not the infrastructure of the South Rim or the North Rim.
Yeah, that'll make it interesting if in fact it'll change the dynamics of the bikepacking race a little bit without having the water spigots there, because I think there's going to be the surface water resources, which is the river that goes all the way up to, I forget the name of it, but it's where that mid-water treatment facility is, and then it's dry after that all the way to the top.
Yeah.
And
this is all speculation, but I think they'll try to get the trail open way before the infrastructure, which is exactly what you said. There'll be no water. I mean, it would just be trail, and you go through and you continue on the trail.
Yeah, right.
But there will be no,
tons
bathrooms
of people,
or water or services.
Tons of people sleep in the bathrooms, or bikepackers will sleep in the bathrooms.
Till you get to Jacob's Lake, I think that you probably have to take your water from the last creeks.
Yeah, which is a ways. That's a ways.
Yeah, that would I took full advantage of the fact. So there was about a week that I was like, do I do that this year? Because I was really sad, like everyone else, that the North Rim, that area is just, you can't explain it. It's just amazing up there. And not being able to do the full through hike. And I'm friends with John, so I knew he was trying to come up with an alternative when we really knew this was not opening.
Yeah.
I think we all had a little bit of hope that it wasn't as bad as it was, but once we knew that the North Rim was not opening, right?
Yeah.
And so I had a week of do I do this next year? And I'm like, well, there can be fires in a year in Arizona. Parts of the trail can be down. It may not be up next year. I was like, I've trained this year. I've taken the time off work. I've built up. I have PTO built up. So I'm like, I'm just going to do it. And I'm glad I did, because it gave me really now it's just opened a lot of doors that I was I'm not afraid to ride by myself. I'm not afraid to go on adventures if friends can't come, it's just opened a lot of doors for me, knowing that I can do this, as we were talking about earlier, the fear, I had a lot of fear. I didn't say yes to a lot of these things because I was I'm too slow, or I'm going to take a tent. People don't take tents on these things, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But John always said, a lot of people said, ride your ride. And so I took full advantage of the South Rim the hike being from the South Rim this year. And that we did have to take everything in with us that we would come out with, but you could take a lot less food, a lot less water. So like I threw out some food that night before, a few things, and took only the food that I needed in the canyon, only the water I needed to get through a 14-mile-a-day hike. And so I knew that there was a grocery store. I actually stayed at Yavapai Lodge right next door to the grocery store that night that I could resupply in the morning. And so I was able to, as you were saying, that next year, if there's not service, well, the grocery store's never open but water. Like you're going to have a lot heavier packs.
Right.
I just had I emptied all my water off my bike except for I think I entered with like a liter of water, knowing that I would have water at Indian Garden or Havasupai Gardens now. So I kind of calculated. So I had a lot less weight than if I was going all the way through and you take that much water.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be. We'll see what happens. I mean, that's sort of the fun of it, though, right?
Yeah.
Is the dynamic changes every, AZT changes all the time.
I mean, we could have changes. You can have changes with the AZT on route.
Totally.
I was biking through, talking about like having to like troubleshoot. It was up. What's the tank? So I was about going to Grandview. So I was close to the Grand Canyon. I was headed on the stretch going to the Grandview Watchtower. And Russell Tank. There's a tank out there. And you hit this stretch.
Russell.
You hit this stretch that's like single track to two track to single track. And it's actually pretty, but you're pretty remote. Another remote section where I think there are dirt roads in there, but it feels remote. I didn't know. I'd never been on that section before. And all of a sudden I smell fire. And I'm like strong fire. And I'm looking around and I knew we're in the controlled burn area or time frame.
Yeah, right.
And I can't get watch duty to open. I don't have service. And I'm standing there and I was like, where is this fire? Like, how close is it to me? And so then finally, I was able to get a text out. So I texted John and I was like, hey, can you open watch duty? Is this a controlled burn? How far am I from it? I'm by Russell Tank. So at least he knows the trail so well. He knew exactly, and you have track leaders. He knew exactly where I was at.
Yep.
And then I got watch duty to open. I went a little bit further down the trail and I was able to open it enough and see where I was in relationship. And it was a control burn, but it had burned 7,000 acres. So it wasn't a small control burn.
Yeah.
And that was the fire that I was smelling. And I'm like, no one knows. I'm like, no one knows I'm out here, So that was another use of my inReach that I was going to do is I actually thought, because I knew how it worked now, that I was going, and I'm not afraid to push that button that like, oh my God, I'm just going to alert search and rescue and they're going to come looking for me.
Yeah,
right?
and I'm going to get a bill for $35,000 or whatever for helicopter fuel.
So
that's what I thought happened.
Yeah. So I was like, so now I know that like I can hit it. So I thought in that moment, I'm like, I can hit it and just let them know like, hey, one, how close am I to, this fire, and also, hey, I'm out here. So if this fire switches direction, I know enough about being from Arizona, or didn't grow up here, but being in Arizona for 20 years, that fires just like the North Rim, they can move in a heartbeat. I mean, look how quick they weren't expecting that to move the way it did.
Right.
And so I know that. So I was like, I want someone to know that I'm out here. If this fire moves, they can come get me. And it ended up being that it was far. I got watch duty open. It was far enough away that I was okay, or I thought I was going to be okay. But that's another use of the inReach. I'm like, I could just text them and say like, hey, I'm out here. So if this fire moves, come rescue me.
Yeah.
There's someone on this trail.
Totally. Yeah. Yeah. There's so much active problem solving you have to learn for this stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like so much. And it helps all the rest of your life.
Oh, 100%. Like I think I mean, even now looking back, it's been only a couple months. I notice things that I'm like, you come more assured yourself. You don't second guess like yourself as much.
Yeah.
You just because you got through that. I mean, even on the trail, little bit, I was like, well, the whole way, I'm like, well, if I get through the lemon push, I can do this.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, I got through that. I can do this, you know.
Isn't that the point of the lemon push in
Yeah,
John's theory?
it is.
Like it's a little preview. If he doesn't want people compromising the relationship with the Park Service and getting into the Grand Canyon and not being able to get themselves out. And I think he said here, I think he told me on the podcast that was one of the reasons why the lemon push got introduced, was because it kind of like vetted.
Well, yeah, that's why he decided to add it. It was the 5 single speeders that that decided to take it on. And then when he was thinking about it from them, though, like, should I add this? He was like, it is a good precursor of. It's totally different than the Canyon, so it's not the same thing. But it's that if you can push through this hard thing, that's 12 hours. Most people, I think, are 10 to 12 hours to get through it. When you're fatigued, you're tired, and you can push through that. Literally, the lemon push. Which is really because you're going through the push wilderness, so it's a play on words. But you are pushing your bike almost the entire time, and it's hard. And for most people, even it was actually reassuring. I listened to Mike Simmons, got to know him about a month before. He was 2 days in front of me most of the time.
Yeah.
Listened to one of the few call-ins because I knew him, and so I was listening to a few of his call-ins to see how he was doing, which is kind of fun with MTB Cast that you can like hear, you know what. I didn't see it as competitor, you know, what my other friends are doing.
Yeah, totally.
And his first words was, oh my God, that lemon push is way worse than, and he's like, I knew it was going to be epic, but way worse than anybody I could imagine. I'm like, okay, he suffered on it too. So it's not just me. So it's, you know, but getting in, knowing that, because you got to get yourself out of the canyon. So you don't want to drop in and not be able to get out of there. So it's more the fact of just pushing through something and being able to do that.
Yep, totally. Do you hear that beeping thing? Is that me? There was like a beeping.
I didn't hear it.
Okay. I keep hearing a beeping. I don't know if it's me. And we're back. That was your Garmin beeping.
I think so.
So thank you, Garmin, for the great segue. I have a note on here to ask you about all of your tech. So what did you do for navigation, lighting, and then we already talked about the inReach.
Yeah, for navigation, in March of last year, or March leading up to the race, my smaller Garmin, I think I had the 5 or the 820 or 830, it just died on me, so I had to get a new one. So I ended up going with the 1040.
Yep.
Non-solar, because that one was on sale and was significantly cheaper than the solar version. I've always had a Garmin, so it was comfortable to me. I knew how to use it, and so I just went with the same thing. I know how to do the maps on it. So, but I learned later, which would have been so helpful, of the power saver mode. I don't know why I did not use that. So there was one time that going to the Flagstaff, I had like 5% left on all my electronics. My lights were dying, my Garmin was dying, my phone was dying. Thankfully, I found a way earlier into Flagstaff, about 30 miles earlier en route than what I was anticipating to get into Flagstaff. And so and then I was able to get a hotel and charge everything. But I used the Garmin, and it has pretty good battery life. It does pretty good. I had 3 battery packs with me.
Okay, yeah.
So I took the really, I forget the brand, but they're the really lightweight. All the thru hikers use them. The like 10,000 battery pack banks. They're thin.
The Nightcore, maybe?
Yeah.
Nightcore.
Yeah. Yep. Those ones. So I had 3 of those, and they're not really that heavy. And I was gonna take 2, and at the last minute, my husband's like, "What? You're buying another one?" I'm like, "Yeah, I think I'm gonna take 3." Like literally a week before the race, I bought a 3rd one, and I'm so glad I did, because there were times because I'm slower, and Alex Schultz, I think, said this on your podcast recently, was, he was like, yeah, if you're out there if you're at the back of the pack, you have to take more things. You have to take a tent, and you may not have the most minimalist sleep kit because you're out there longer. And I started laughing, and I was like, oh yeah, that's me.
Yeah.
And so like you do have more time in between maybe charging things. So I had 3 battery packs, and then I took, and the Garmin did really good until I got to, I crashed, which we can talk about. I don't know if that had anything to do with it. I crashed on the Highline Trail, but it was about right around that time that the screen froze. Like, it didn't freeze, but the touch screen stopped working. And so I would, again, pep talk my Garmin. You need to keep working about a week. You got to get me through this ride. So I would get it on the map and leave it there all day. So I couldn't see I used to like to go to the elevation or, go back and forth the screens.
Yeah.
But in the morning, it would take me a while. I'd get it on the map, get it there, and leave it there. So I didn't know how much mileage I was doing anymore. Which
that's okay.
It was kind of a blessing in disguise, right? So I rode my biggest day, getting from Hart Prairie area outside of Flagstaff, like outside of Snowball area. When you go down the hill, before you head to Babbitt's Ranch, that I actually slept in where you pull off and just park. I've done day rides from there, so
yeah.
I slept there. So I made it from there all the way to Tucson, and I really wanted to stay in a hotel that night. And I'm like, there's no way I'm gonna make it this distance. Didn't get a super early start. I think it was like 6-7 a.m. when I started that morning, and it's a lot of single track, smooth single track, but you have some climbing in there too. And so, but I couldn't see my mileage. So I just that was really where I just, every 45 minutes, an hour, every AZT gate, I stopped, I ate, got off my bike, kept going, because there's a lot of pedaling through there. You're not hiking a bike, thankfully.
Yeah.
So it's all pedaling. So I'd pedal for 45 minutes, get to gate, eat. And before I knew it, it was like, I knew the area from Grandview to Tucson. So before I knew it, I was like, if I can I knew it was 15 miles downhill. And so I was like, if I can get to Grandview, I think I got to Grandview like at 8 o'clock at night or something. I'm like, I didn't even look at hotels in Tucson because I did not think I was going to make it there. I'm like, that's a small town. I'll walk into a hotel. I'll figure it out.
Yeah.
Something's going to be open, right? And I went 79 miles that day, which was by far my biggest mileage day.
Yeah, wow.
And I couldn't see the mileage. I'm like, well, maybe there's a thing to this, not being able to see how far you're going.
Yeah.
But it did get me through the ride. But I ended up warranting the touchscreen, which was nice. So they did, because it was less than a year old. So
okay.
Garmin, when I got home, did warranty the touchscreen. But everything else, it didn't glitch, what some people have said with the route. I don't know if I accidentally did this or if this is a thing. And it's done this now when I downloaded the Colorado Trail. If you I downloaded it. I used the 10,000 points, which was totally fine, and it worked. And I was used to doing that for other rides. That's the mapping I used for the Queen's Ransom. Off a ride with GPS. So I downloaded the route for my ride with GPS, and it automatically split it into two. Like, I thought I was going to have to do that, but it automatically downloaded it to my Garmin into 2 segments.
Whoa.
Yeah.
I've not heard of this.
And it did that when I did the Arizona or the Colorado Trail recently. I just downloaded that, and it did the same thing. It automatically broke it up into 2 segments. So when you go into courses, it had the Arizona, whatever is tiled, 1 and then 2. And so it automatically broke. So and then every night I decided not to save the full route together, which was kind of fun because I got to see what time I started, what time I ended, how many mileage I did that day, and how much feet of climbing. So
right.
I saved it. I usually like on the Queen's Ransom, I do is 1 big loop, but I think 5 days is about the max to do it as 1 big loop.
Right.
So I saved each night off. So I didn't have any of the those glitchy issues. It was just the touch screen went out.
That's interesting about Ride with GPS. So there has been a screen on there when you go to download your file where you can reduce it to 10,000 points on that screen. And I have avoided that in the past because it sometimes changes little things on the route. But you're saying that it's not part of that screen, that like the options when you pop up.
So I took the 10,000. So John always posts a 10,000 and a full.
Right.
And I took the 10,000. Actually, I had them both on. So I had backup. So I had my Ride with GPS and I had Trail Forks. So I had, and I would get out my phone sometimes if I was curious about a turn or did I get off route. I would just pull. I had my phone. Actually, I wore these pants. So I had my phone right here in my pocket, and I was able to pull that out really quick and easy. bring up ride with GPS and check it. So I had the full version, the greater than 10,000 points on both those apps. So if I needed that more detail, I would have it. But the 10,000 points, so I downloaded just the one that said 10,000 points, and it worked out pretty well. I mean, there are maybe some times that it didn't alert me that I was off route, but I would just, you get that feeling when you're doing route finding where I was like, I don't think I'm on route.
Right.
And then I would look down and I was like, oh yeah, my line's over here, the route's here. So I would usually pick up on it pretty quick. I mean, I did a lot of backtracking, but I think I would have done that with the higher version too. So I don't think it was necessarily so the 10,000 points for me worked out really well.
Right. Definitely.
Yeah.
There's a bunch of javelina right over there.
Oh, I can't see them.
They're coming your way.
Oh, they're gonna attack
Just
us.
for the listeners here, there's, I don't know, probably 8 javelina with some little babies.
The joy of urban parks, right?
Yeah, we're like in the middle of the city.
The javelina are taking over.
Oh, that's great.
Ugly little things.
Yeah, I think tech is one of those things that a lot of folks are pretty uncomfortable with, and it's a new thing you got to learn, and it's just trials and tribulations.
Practice rides. I mean, I went out on oh yeah, they're there. Yeah, little babies.
Yeah.
I'm entertainment for the morning. I went out on, that's my other advice. I did a lot of, so I didn't just jump into this. Like a lot of people were like, tell me I shouldn't do it, or, you know, a lot of naysayers. And I was like, people who don't bike pack, and I'm like, I didn't or like, I can't believe you're not doing the 300 and you're doing the 800. I'm like, well, I did a lot of training rides and a lot of bikepacking overnight rides leading up to this. And every time that's what I would practice. So figure out the whole year, every time I did my AZT setup so that I could practice it. And I think everyone's like, Garrett was saying on the AES ride in June, he was like, is that all you've thought about for like a year? And I'm like, yeah, pretty much. So I would road my setup and I would change some things and add some things and get ideas. But I would practice that every trip I went out, and like, how far do my batteries last? What lights I think I changed my light setup a couple of times. I ended up going down I love the bikepacking.com post the setups from the years prior. I spent hours on those, and a lot of people use I had never heard of the Phoenix, the BC2R or something like
BC26R.
Yeah. That I love that light now, because you can't. So that's what I ended up doing for my lights is having the same on my helmet and my bars, so that if one goes out, I can switch it up if I like the helmet light better in that moment, and I'm down to one light. Always having a backup, I learned, of something.
Right.
Or all your gear being able to do 2 things, right? And so I also love that those batteries, you can charge them by themselves. So they have a USB-C port, and you can be charging your batteries while you have another set. So I had 4 batteries. So 2 running all the time, and then 2 backups. That I could be switching out or charging. Yeah,
those are the 21700s, I think, is the batteries.
They're like 5,000 now.
Yeah, the 5,000 milliamp.
Yeah.
I think the model is like 21700 or something. But they have the USB-C port like literally on the battery.
Which is amazing with those. Most lights you can't. You'd have to have a whole extra light, where now I can just have an extra battery.
Right.
So that was, and I think those things are intimidating. So just like looking and finding and practicing even on, I would take my loaded bike. We do this Tuesday night. Somo, we call ourselves Somo Shredders. But it's ladies, it's just a group of friends. And we pretty much meet every Tuesday night at South Mountain. And I would take my loaded bike and use those lights. And that's how I figured out the one light I bought. I was like, oh, this setup won't work. It's bouncing around too much.
Yeah.
And so I went on to a different light, or this one, and I ended up landing on those. But I would practice that just on our Tuesday night 6-mile rides. I'd be on my loaded bike and, figuring out what's rattling or what's not.
Yeah, well, it shows all of like your extensive prep work you did for the race, like, paid off, right? It
Lots
worked.
of rabbit holes.
Yeah, and it's kind of fun.
Yeah, I actually enjoyed the research of it. And the research of the route, and writing down all your notes and figuring out your water sources. And
a lot of us do this just for that part, not for the actual riding part. It's
and
just
everyone told me when I started bikepacking this was before there were a lot of bags. It's amazing how much the community has grown in 3 years.
Oh, yeah.
I had this idea that I wanted a bike pack probably 2020, 2018, somewhere around there. Took a while for it to actually formulate, but I was like, I heard this sport, not necessarily racing, just bike packing in general. And everyone told me you can't do it on an extra small bike because you're not going to be able to get everything on your bike. And I was like, there's kids that bike pack. Yeah, I might have a kid's bike, but there's kids that bike. So I had to have a backpack. But it's fun. It was kind of fun to almost prove people wrong in a way and go down these rabbit holes and find what works on my bike. And I might have to be a little bit more creative where I put things or how I do things on my bike. But there's a lot more. There's racks, there's bags. I've played around with the racks. I ended up the Ripsy bag from Rogue Panda is amazing for small bikes.
Yeah.
That there's a couple other brands I think that have come out now that do some, dropper posts really is what's driving that, so people can use their dropper posts. But that one in particular, I was able to mount it and still get some dropper posts even on an extra small bike with 29 wheels, which is amazing. And then I can have a saddle bag now instead of a rack because I really thought about that Grand Canyon portage and I'm like, do I want to deal with an extra rack trying to mount my bike? And
right.
I didn't want to deal with the rack. So it was kind of fun to figure out, change up your setup and like learn what works for you. And I tell people like that's the fun of getting it. Borrow gear at first, as we were talking about in the beginning, but then there's so many great companies out there. Research and find what works for you.
Totally. There's so many bag companies. It's wild. I'm surprised that there's that there's not enough of a market, to be honest. There is enough of a market.
And with gear, it's like it also goes back to the theme of ride your ride. And John was telling me that a lot, and he was great inspiration for me to do this was he gets through. Right, he may not be the fastest rider, but he's going to finish, right?
Yeah.
And so I'm kind of that personality where like my husband said I'm the tortoise that just doesn't stop because I can get through mentally. I can get through those hard times, and it might be slow. I might be hiking, but I will keep going. I will keep moving forward, and really ride your ride. Where I didn't. I thought I was going to be last way before I was. I love when I tell people I was DFL and then explaining to non-bikers what that means.
Yeah.
It's kind of fun with their reaction. But I knew I had the mindset that I was like, I'm going to be last and that's okay. I think I was impatient when most of the pack was finishing, right? And not letting that bother me and just ride my ride. As you said, one pedal stroke at a time. And does that mean take a tent because that makes me comfortable? I'm going to take a tent and I had definitely not, it was a lightweight kit, but it was not like that minimalist. I was riding with a guy and he didn't have a sleep pad and he was like, never again am I doing the AZT without a sleep pad. He was like, that was the biggest mistake I made. And I was like, I don't know how you're sleeping. So I slept really good each night. And I think that's what's really helped is I didn't, even though I learned from other people, what the people who are doing it fast is going to be different than maybe what I'm doing. And even the people around me might be different what I'm doing. So you really got to figure that out on your practice rides is take the gear that's going to make you successful.
Yeah. What temperature sleeping bag did you bring?
Yeah, I ended up changing that a little bit at the last minute, mainly because I didn't want to pay for it. And then I just decided to pay for it. We had amazing weather.
Okay.
So compared to past years, it was 65 in the Canela Hills instead of 100. It was
so nice sounding.
I didn't run into rain. I had the front pack ran into death mud. Mm-hmm. I did not have any rain. Sprinkles one night. We thought we were going to get dumped on down by Ripsy Ridge. We looked at a storm. We looked at an epic rainbow for like 2 hours and we bundled everything up. Me and a couple other riders around me thought we were going to get a storm and we ended up somehow not getting it. So when I was looking at the weather beforehand, I was like, I don't think we're going to get the epic cold temperatures on the North Rim. So I took all my gear from the start.
Right.
I didn't want to deal with, I had no idea. I'd never done anything like this. What time? I didn't want to deal with getting to worrying about getting to post offices and stuff. And I wanted to know that I could So I took all my gear, even on my practice rides when it wasn't like super cold. I had all my gear I was going to take on the AZT to practice it, which saved me on the North Rim during that overnight for the AES ride, because I was nice and toasty and warm, and they were all freezing because it got 32 degrees that night.
Oh, okay.
But I ended up buying a 30-degree. I had a 20-degree sleeping quilt from UGQ, which I love, sweet sleeping quilts, but it's super warm. And I was trying to decide if I wanted to go with a little bit lighter sleeping bag. So when I saw that we weren't going to get the super cold temperatures on the North Rim that most years you do, because we weren't going all the way to the North Rim, I decided to switch out to I ended up buying a 30-degree sleeping quilt from them.
Right.
And I have lost a lot of weight, so I was able to get a smaller width. For them, you can customize everything, which is nice. And I actually almost didn't get it in time. I emailed their customer service, and I was like, so I waited too long.
Yeah.
Is there any way you can make sure you get this to me before October 16th? And they were great. They did. I got it a week early, just in time.
Nice. Did you do, switching it up here a little bit, did you do the Aquarius Trail Hut ride?
I did.
Yeah, tell me about that.
Yeah, it ended up being great. So we were supposed to do it 2 years ago. 6 of us ladies wanted to do it. We signed up. Ended up not happening that year, so we postponed it a year. And it ended up lining up being the year of my training for the AZT. And I was like, oh, this is perfect. I'm going to get 6 days of riding at elevation. So it's great for people looking into big adventures, because you ride 40 to 50 miles a day. There is some epic single track in there as well. So they're big days.
Yeah.
And so, but then you get to the huts, and it's in the Bryan Head area. So you go from Bryan Head to Escalante up in Utah. And you get to these huts, and they're storage containers. But they have amazing food for you. You have to cook it yourself, but they have like burgers, and we made fajitas. And they have all this, great food, fresh fruit, fresh vegetables. They stock it every night. They stock the huts, which is amazing. And then you have bunk beds as well. And it's really actually cool to be able to end your day and have these services. Well, I was doing a practice ride, our group of 6, we were doing a training ride, figuring out their gear, because you have to carry some stuff with you. But they have supply sleeping bags. They supply, you have to carry a sleeping bag liner, maybe your day food. So you do have to have some bags on your bike. So I was helping them. They never bike pack, so helping them figure out bags, borrow bags.
Right.
So we were doing a practice ride, and I, of course, because I was in training mode, showed up early from the practice ride and did an extra hour of riding by myself before I rode with them. And I'm on that ride, and I was like, I should do my whole AZT setup for this ride and have 6 days on a loaded bike, even though I don't need to. And so I'm like having this revelation like a week before, because I was going to do it on my full suspension, have minimal bags. And I was like, I should be riding my hardtail fully loaded, and put up
make this much harder.
Yeah, put up my tent every night. Like, so I committed. I'm like, I'm not going to sleep in the huts, even though I paid for it. I did eat the food, but I was like, I'm going to get practice, because it was a newer tent to me. I'm like, that's a week of putting up my tent, getting used to. Like, you really want, what I learned, and what people have told me, what John has told me, rinse and repeat. Like, you don't want to be your mind when you're tired on the AZT. Like, you want to have things in the same place and be used to that.
Yep.
And that, I think, was the biggest, for someone who had never done anything like that, the biggest thing I could do was have my gear always the same and know where things were going each night, and be able to just put up my tent half asleep. And so I got back to the parking lot. My friends show up, and I was like, hey, so what do you guys think if I sleep outside of my tent and I do this? And they all started laughing. They're like, Kara, nothing you say anymore surprises us. We'll roll with it. We're used to you. Like, it doesn't surprise us that you're saying that right now, that you're going to pay, $1,000 for this trip, but still sleep in your own tent and not use the bunk beds.
Yeah.
But
eye roll.
Yeah, I was in training mode. It was funny because I show up at the shuttles, and the guy shuttling us, I was like, don't worry, I know this is way too much gear for this. I'm doing this on purpose.
Yeah.
And so then they knew I was doing the AZT. They were super great company to work with. It was a lot of fun. They shuttle you out. And then he was like, they stocked the hut. So they did like this whole note called AZT Dreaming for me, like on day 2 or something on these dry erase boards. They'll put like pictures and notes. So they did this whole like cactus scene. And
nice.
That trail has some add-ons, so I did every add-on that we could do. And then I looked at the map and I'm like, we're not far from Bryce one of the nights. Right. So I actually unloaded part of my bike. They all were done, and I took off on the paved path to Bryce and added on, I think, 30 miles that night after late afternoon, and went into Bryce, had a snack, and then went back to the huts because I was like, we had a fire workaround, so that day was less mileage. Because we couldn't do some of the trail due to a fire closure that was up there. So I was like, I had the time, and I'm like, oh, I have daylight. It doesn't daylight till like 9. I'm gonna go add on miles. And so we get done, and the guy's like, I don't think anybody's ever rode into Bryce from that hut. I was like, yeah, that's what happens when you're in training mode. And I have limited time off work, so this was a good advantage of this was already planned. We were doing this, so I was taking advantage of making it a training ride for me.
Right. Yeah, well, those little things add up for sure. Yeah, that's awesome. I did part of the Aquarius Plateau and the Escalante area.
Beautiful.
I think it kind of crosses over with that hut route. Dana was telling me about the hut route for the first time. I didn't know that was a thing. But that it seems like a pretty cool way to explore that area.
And great way for people to get into long adventures because they give you the route, but you do still have to route find. So you still have to have it on a device.
Yeah.
And know your route. And I was the only one in that group like that had done that. So I was able to help them a lot. And you know, it was nice having someone in your group though that knows bikepacking and route finding because like the shuttle driver came and apologized, but there was a closure at Brian Head and he dropped us off in the further down the route than he was supposed to.
Yeah.
And we were in the parking, you know, sitting there and I was like, when I realized it and I really wanted to do the epic single track of downhill the first day. And I was like, okay, we can take this dirt road. I look at the heat maps. I'm like, okay, it looks like people have been on this dirt road. You can bring up the heat maps and I know how to do that. So I was able to help a route. I don't think they were happy with the climb. I took them up the road, but we added some elevation. But I knew that we would probably that road was probably safe to be on. I could tell people right it from the heat maps.
Right.
It looked like a pretty good dirt road to get to the single track portion. So we had the same mileage that day than we would have if we would have gotten dropped off closer to Brian Head. And they apologized. They were great about it. It was a new workaround because we were at the beginning of the season. So we were one of the first groups to go to do the full route. You can't do it till like July, the full route. So they were figuring out that there was a construction of a Brian Head and you couldn't get through to drop us off. So they were figuring that out. But having someone I think that knows route finding, that's probably the worst, one of the worst waters. I knew these like emergency kind of water stops and it was really hot the week we did it.
Yeah.
And so I ended up taking them up to this cattle tank that I knew I had found that was hoping it was there off route a little bit. And it had like an inch and a half of water in it. Oh. And it was like not the best looking water. And the cows are drinking out of it as we're filtering it, you know. And I was like, well, I'm going to probably have to do this on the AZT. So here we go. This is an experiment. And it tasted great. It clogged our filters, but I learned how to, get my filter unclogged by taking the clean water. I used the Be Free filter.
Yeah.
So I take the clean water, switch it around, and then that I had just filtered, and then start filtering again. So,
right.
We were able to get enough water for us. But having someone that maybe has those skills is helpful. In your group.
For sure. You lost your water filter on the Arizona Trail race the first day, right? That was like right out the gate.
Oh my gosh.
But you had two?
I had two.
So we're all good?
I learned to have two. And the reason why I had two was on the AES ride. The AES rides are great, by the way. I know that you got into endurance riding by Arizona Endurance Series. That's what got me into it.
It's the gateway drug.
They're amazing.
Yep.
That's really what got me into this. And so on the North Kaibab one, which was an overnight where we all camped together, but you ride during the day, there was a storm, and the last day there was we camped at this huge cow pond that we thought was a great water source. John has used it before, but because of the rains, that's the worst water source I've ever drank out of. I have pictures online, but it was like, I can't believe we floated. I mean, it's where you have floaties in your Be-Free filter, where I'm so glad it was dusk, and I'm like, I don't want to look what I'm actually filtering out of right now. But
there's things swimming around after you filtered it.
Yeah, it clogged my filter. I didn't know how to get my filter really unclogged. I mean, I got to use it enough, but all three of us, clogged our filter. Yeah. And thankfully, all three of us filtered that night, because I didn't know this about the Be-Free filters. If you go on any of those filters, like the Be-Free filter, I don't know what they're called, filament filters or whatever.
Yeah, the microfilaments.
Yeah, yep. If you take them below 32 degrees, they can have micro cracks in them, and you don't know it. And I didn't know this at all. So this is one example of riding with people, riding these group rides. I learned this before the AZT, and none of us even were talking about this on the ride, but we woke up to frost that morning. It was 28 degrees, I think, when we woke up. We had frost all over our bikes. We get on, we go. Ian's texting us afterwards, and he goes, if you didn't sleep with your filter in your sleeping bag, throw it away. He goes, and he's sending us videos that he looked up of that you can, if you go under 32 degrees, you can have these micro cracks, and your filter is not going to be 100% filtering the water.
Yep.
And so that's when, I learned to sleep with my filter. So I did actually 2 nights, even though it got like 37, but I wasn't going to chance it. I'm like, this is my lifeline. Yeah. I threw it in the bottom of my sleeping bag, and I slept, because mine is sewed, even though it's a quilt, just the bottom part is.
Yeah.
Up to like your shin area.
Okay.
And so so I threw it in the bottom of there and slept with that. And then also, because we all had clogged them, I was like, I should have a backup filter, because this is your lifeline on the Arizona Trail, is filtering water. Like, you're going to have to filter water. And so I had never ridden with 2 before that. And it's also, I like those Be-Free filters because they're a liter. They're an extra liter capacity if I needed it too.
For sure.
So I was like, they're light. It's really not a big deal to carry 2. And the first, I figured out it was, I think, the first water source, because the Hansons found a water filter. I left it behind.
Yeah.
On the first day in the Canela Hills, at one of the first water sources, because there was some flowing water. We had so much water this year in the Canela Hills, which was amazing as well. And from the cow pond, there was actually flowing water, so you could filter that instead of filtering from the cow pond. And so I was over filtering that, and I guess I left it behind, and thankfully I had 2. So then ever since then, that whole 19 days, I was like, I would stop and do something with my backpack, and I was like, stop 2 feet later, check it, and make sure my water filter was on me.
Yeah.
Like, I can't lose my other water filter. But I'm glad I had 2. So then I was down, I had plenty of water capacity though, so I was down a liter of, but I could have bought a bottle, but I had plenty of water capacity.
What was the total capacity at the start?
So average, I always had 5 liters on me.
Okay.
They say you pack your fears. Mine is food and water.
Yeah.
I'm like, being a nurse, you can use water for so many things. And it saved me to where I was able to make longer stretches. And not worry as much. So I did carry 5 liters most of the time if I was going to fill up. I think I could, let's see, I didn't always have, so 6 liters, I think most of the time was my full capacity if I had it in my water filter.
Yeah, right.
I didn't always have that liter filled. And then I could have bought, like a water bottle somewhere or something. But I think most of the time my full capacity would have been 6 liters.
Yeah, that's probably one of the most common questions for the Arizona Trail races. What people carry.
Yeah, because I had 2.5 liters in my frame bag. I use that Apodera, which is amazing to get that water weight in the center of your bike.
Did you have any problems with that? I was paranoid that thing was going to wear through. I had one of those for a while, like wear through the frame bag, just because everything seems to wear through.
Wear through the frame bag? No, I had no issues.
The frame and anything inside of the frame bag would wear through the bladder.
Oh, through the bladder?
Yeah.
No. I had no issues. This is why. the one pocket is just my Apidura frame bag.
So there's nothing else in there,
with
right?
it.
I think that's probably a critical thing.
Yeah,
if you're
there's
putting,
nothing, and it just fits, and that's mainly because nothing else would fit.
Right.
It's 2.5 liters, or it's a
Right.
3-liter bag. I can fit 2.5 liters in it. 2 is better, but I can stuff 2.5 liters of water in there. And what's cool about that bag is I can fill it up without taking it out of the frame bag.
Oh.
So you just open it up. I would filter my water into a smart bottle. I always had a smart bottle on me,
Right.
just the thick plastic water bottles. So I filter my water and then dump it in there. And I could fill it up without taking the bag out.
So kind of from the side, you would open it and then unroll it?
So
Is
you just unzip your frame bag,
Mhm.
and then so I bought the one that is the triangle one, so it fits in those frame bags. So the closure is at the top. So you just
It's like a roll top.
It's like a roll top,
Okay.
and then you just open it and you can fill it up, and then you make sure it's absolutely closed, and then it rolls down. There's Velcro, and then you just you can put it back in. So
Got it.
I have the Rogue Panda frame bag, and on the other side, I think a lot of the frame bag, it has another zipper, but it's totally separate pocket.
Right.
So
Okay.
in there, I had all my bike repair kit, and a pump, a really minimalist shock pump, a regular minimalist pump, and my stands, and then that was all on the other side of the bag.
Right.
But having that 2.5 liters there, and I drink more if it's on my back, but I got used to using the hose. Like, you just do it in flat areas or when you stop. It's, I have a magnet at the top, and so it's easy to, off of my top bar.
Yeah.
Easy to use the hose. And then I had the feed bag. So I had a liter. I use these liter water bottles, which are great. They're almost a liter. So I had a liter, always with Lugely Element in it. Great stuff.
Yeah.
I think that kept me from cramping. Because I used to always cramp at elevation. That stuff is amazing. So I always had a bottle that had the element in it. And then we were talking about my 5 pounds of protein powder. I did always loosely have a bottle. I took at least 1 liter, 2 servings a day, sometimes more of that. And each one's 200 calories, so it's liquid nutrition too.
Yeah.
And so that was always in another bottle. And if that bottle didn't have my protein powder in it, it had either Coke from stopping at a resupply or a restaurant. I stopped at every restaurant along the way, and then also or like a coffee or something in it. But I always had that 2.5 liters of just water, so I knew I had just water. And then I had sometimes on my back. I tried not to. I always would try to get the water on my bike, but I had a liter of the smart bottle, and then I could fill up my liter of my Be-Free filter if I needed to.
Nice. Yeah. You had it figured out. You had that process sorted out. All right. So what do you have coming up? I know we chatted a little bit beforehand. You're thinking about, you have some big dreams of some big events. Thinking about maybe CTR or maybe some European adventures.
Yeah. So I never would have thought of doing these long rides. One, by myself. I will always still I just did one down, jumped in with some friends that I met on the Queen's Ransom, the community you meet around these events. And then, she texted me from the Queen's Ransom. She's like, I want to hear about your AZT. Do you want to come do this bikepacking with us down in Patagonia? And I literally 3 days jumped into it.
Yeah.
So that rinse and repeat, I had the gear. I'm like, I can pack my bike in 3 days now. It used to take 3 months to pack my bike. So I will always like doing those events where we don't ride in the dark and we have a campfire. I mean, we had, stopped and ate, but being able to know that I can do these races and push myself and alone and do these, I wasn't getting anybody to tour the 800 with me. Like, that wasn't going to happen, right? And I have minimal time off work. So knowing that I can do that now, even though I jumped into the biggest bikepacking race in the world, hardest bikepacking race, I did the research and rode the trails and knew what I was kind of getting into. That's opened doors of, I was telling John, I'm like, wow, there's nothing I can't do now. And knowing that, like, you can jump into these races. And also why I did the group start was even though you're alone, there are people out there. Like I ran into people the first day or the first couple of days more than I thought I was going to. So you hot people, you have the community watching, so many people watching track leaders, which I was amazed with, you know, how many people were watching and texting me. And I'm like, wow, you guys are actually like watching this, you know? And if you do it, you know, solo, no ITI, no one's watching you, individual time trial, ITT. Or not as many. So it really just opened doors. And so then, well, watch my videos, my recaps. My husband was at the finish line, which was great. And he walked down and he took this video of me coming in. And it's really funny because he asked the first question that everybody asks you, you know, I haven't seen him for 19 days, right? And he was like, would you do it again?
Yeah. That's the question.
I looked at him and I was like, no, but I finished. And it's just like, I laugh at that video because it's the funniest video. And I was like, and it's sunset, you know, finished before it got dark, you know. But then you process it and then you forget about the hard times, right?
Yeah.
Or the low points. And Colorado Trail is definitely one. I might actually do it this summer, trying to figure out if I'll have enough time off work. I was going to wait a year, but I was like, if I can get the time off work, I'm hoping to do it this summer.
Yeah.
I am currently signed up. I just got to figure out some logistical things, but for the Stagecoach 400.
Yep.
And then ultimately, I was texting John. I'm like, do you want to go to Europe and do the Highline Trail? So would love to get over because I've decided that I really love single track races.
Okay.
The ruggedness of the AZT, even though there's a lot of hike-a-bike, my view on hike-a-bike has changed. If it gets you to somewhere epic, it's okay. As John says, if the views don't suck, or if the views suck, you're not hiking, you know, hike-a-bike. But whatever the saying is. But anyways, I said that in one of my videos. The views must suck if you're not hike-a-biking. That's what it is. Yeah. And I was like, yeah, at least it's getting me somewhere cool. Used to not like hiking my bike for miles. But the Highland Trail just sounds interesting because it's a lot of single track, I think.
The Highland, right?
The Highland
in
Scotland.
Scotland, yeah.
And I think that one I could pull off.
I heard there's some epic mud bogs there.
Yeah. There could be.
I think you and your bike might completely disappear in a couple hours, so be careful, okay? I've heard they eat like bikes and riders.
I was very spoiled this year in the AZT with weather. So the front of the pack, as I said, got death mud in a storm in Payson.
Yeah.
I think Alex said he carried his bike for like ever through
Anderson Mesa.
And I got to Anderson Mesa and it was potholy, but it was dry.
Yeah. That place is notorious.
So one good thing to be slow is like I didn't get the rain. So
right. But that could conversely you're spending more time.
Oh yeah.
You know, I think back of the pack is significantly statistically higher to hit adverse weather conditions. Right, yeah. You got really lucky, but like the longer you're out there, the more chances.
I mean, had we gone to the North Rim, that the back of the pack usually can get snowstorms because you're out there longer.
Yeah, and
you're
it's
getting
way
into
colder.
That time frame. My coldest temp was 37. I have a little thermometer because I was curious. There's this through hiker showed it to me one time, and there's these cute little thermometers that you can put in your bag, and which is better than your Garmin that we always talk about.
Yeah, right.
That isn't as accurate.
That makes no sense.
Yeah,
ever.
Exactly. It was my lowest temp, at least in the morning when I got up. I think it was 37 degrees. So
that's
it
wonderful.
it wasn't bad. So that's why I decided to take that 30-degree bag because I had looked at the temperatures and kind of was calculating on whether, and I'm glad I did that because I had dropper posts. I didn't service my dropper post beforehand. Looking back, I need to do that with this one.
Yeah.
So it was sluggish. I got it fixed in Tucson. I was having issues with it. So I took some gear out of my back bag and was able to get it in my front bag. And with my bigger sleeping quilt, I wouldn't have been able to do that because it just fits. So I had the room to kind of rearrange something.
So that you could get your dropper kind of half working to take a little bit of the weight out the back.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Made it lighter.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, some years on the North Rim or even leading into the North Rim, it's in the single digits.
Yeah.
There's been some gnarly years.
That would have been cold. I mean, even at 37 with and I always slept on a blow-up sleeping pad.
That
so
helps
you have that,
significantly.
right? In a tent.
Yeah.
So that helps because
Right.
I'm in a tent so you don't have the wind.
Right.
it was a single pole tent. It was one of the Z-Packs, their lightweight tent, so it was a minimalist tent, but I was inside a tent. So that helps. So all those factors go into your gear on what you take. And I had 2 sets of cycling gloves. I had hand up. I love they have small enough gloves for me. They have an extra small. So I had warm cycling gloves. So I would wear those in the morning, switch out to my regular gloves. So they're more like winter cycling gloves.
Yeah.
So I had those, and I had a buff that was insulated. So I had an insulated buff that I could put on when it got colder. And then I would use my rain jacket, which thankfully I didn't have to use it for the rain, but I would use that as a warm layer too. So I actually slept in a couple nights, slept in like all my clothes, slept in my rain jacket, had my buff on, had the hood on, I had a puffy cap that I slept in. I had gloves. I had separate sleeping gloves too. I had just winter gloves. Heed, I think, is the brand that I slept in because those are comfortable to me. So I actually slept in gloves too. So
I mean, that's pretty standard proto for front of the pack for like in racing. It's like you just sleep in all the stuff you're wearing in that moment. So
that was new to me, not having to change clothes. Like I actually had these pants and I slept in these. I did change my top. I slept in a dry fit top so I could get, because that to me that was dry wise, that was the thing that's going to get the wet from the most like sweat or whatever to get out of to get warm at night.
Yeah, totally.
So I did have a change of that, but my dry fit pants actually worked out great. One, to protect me from all the cat claw. I had a ton of bruises, but no bleeding skin. So that worked.
That's pretty rare.
Yeah.
AZT is just like notorious for just chewing your skin up.
Yeah.
At least the bottom half. So cool. Well, let's do some rapid fire questions.
Sounds good.
Okay. Let's see. What's the favorite bikepacker trick or tip that you've learned, maybe on the Arizona Trail?
Favorite tip. I would say sleep on it. That really came up a lot, where it was like, a few of my friends are like, you just have the grit. And I was like, well, yeah, I am stubborn not to give up. But also I think, one, being not afraid to sign up and start. Like, don't worry about your pace. Get out on the group rides. Build the fitness. You have time. I trained for a year. And then in those hard moments, like, sleep on it. Tomorrow you might feel better. And I'd be amazed how I felt sometimes in the morning, and not focusing. I think the biggest thing is not focusing on your numbers too. For me, I never done 6,000 feet of climbing day after day after day.
Yeah.
And not looking at that number and being like, oh, my legs can't handle it. I did 6,000. I mean, I used to be like, I did a big ride yesterday. I can't do a big ride today.
Yeah.
Right? So I think not focusing on your numbers or focusing on like the full trail, just really embrace like the moment that you're in. But
don't sleep on signing up for the next thing. Just do that right now. Right?
Yeah, exactly.
Don't sleep on that decision.
Exactly. And it takes for all the friends I met, the 3 friends that I met down, and it was this weird group of people, but that we did the one in between at the end of the year down in Patagonia. But I had no idea. I had not looked at the Stagecoach 400. I was going to do it as a tour in the fall, and I might still do that if I can't get the timing to work out, but I think I'm going to be able to pull it off. But he texted us on New Year's Day, and he was like, the sign-up's out. Sign up, and he lives in Julian. He's 74 years old. He had his birthday when we were on our overnight, and he's amazing. Nice. His name's Rich. And he texted us, and he was like, sign up. And I was like, am I signing up for this?
Yes.
And he was like, just sign up. Just sign up. And he's like, it's going to close. You need to sign up. And so, like, I got on and I signed up. And I'm like, I guess I'm signed up for the Stagecoach 400. So,
yeah.
So yeah, don't sleep on those.
But you always, unless you're like deathly ill and getting sicker, you always feel better when you wake up, when you sleep on something and wake up the next day, even a couple hours,
Yeah.
Even take a little dirt nap. You're going to have a really interesting time. How much gravel riding have you done? Because Stagecoach is
I know,
like
there's a lot of gravel. My background
is
road biking.
Okay,
so I actually sold everyone couldn't believe when I sold my road bike. So I was addicted to road biking. I was part of a local Arizona women's racing team, on the board for it. We were small, but I had gotten into crits and time trials and road racing. Probably 2008 18, 19, somewhere in there. And so I love the centuries, the long ride. So that's actually my strength, is just like, I mean, I prefer single track now. I like the adventure of single track, but one of my strengths is from my background of running in college. I ran cross country in college.
Yeah.
Was I know how to pace myself. I mean, that took years to learn, right? We didn't have Garmin's and watches and heart rate monitors. We had to do it on our own
Off
feel.
the feels, yeah.
Right? And so most people don't have that skill of being able to do that. So I can put my head down and just ride the same pace up a climb.
Yeah.
Or, it's not my favorite. I do have to mentally prepare for that. But I did, and I thought road biking and that, I would do that forever. And then I got into mountain biking, and now my road bike I sold. So
yeah. Well, I'm sure you'll have a lot of those base skills I mean, both the skills will pay off if you can be a Swiss Army knife.
Right.
And Stagecoach is very varied across the ride. There is like some mountain biking and there is some hike-a-bike, but then there's a lot of just like long pedaling, So that'll be really fun. All right, chamois or no chamois?
No chamois.
You're in no chamois club, no chamois.
I am now. A year ago. So Kate Boyle was the first one who got me on no chamois.
Yep, she's got a great video.
And she talks about it, and I went to a few things with her through Pivot, women's things that they did, and she talked a lot about that and like her journey to no chamois, and she was like, you just got to do it.
Yeah.
So it's finding the right combination of saddle and that works for you. Again, different for everybody. And I went through, I don't know how many pairs of underwear, but undergarments to figure out what I like but I have not had, knock on wood, saddle sores since I figured all that out.
Yeah.
And I did not have any issue. Like, there wasn't a moment on the Arizona Trail after 19 days that I thought I can't ride anymore because of being on the bike in my saddle. I mean, you do hike a lot, but up north, you're on your bike a lot more.
Yeah.
And so I'll never go back. I haven't worn a chamois in almost at least a year.
Yeah. I'll invite you into my exclusive club, no chamois.
There we go.
I mean,
it was a slow transition, but I'm a fan of it now.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at all like the top of the food chain racers, and there's got to be something there. Kurt Ruffsnyder, Andrew Stremke, Kate Boyle. I mean, Kurt and Kate maybe found like they
started
rode
the trend
a lot together, so maybe they started it. But yeah, I'm a big believer in it.
And not having to take back up chamois. I mean, those are like bulky, right? So having a place for them, not having that, and then like I had ones that mine are like boxer briefs or whatever, but they're not. Which takes away any lines and anything.
Right.
They're women's boxer briefs. But they finding that, and then I just have one extra, and then flip them inside out. So all the things you do on the trail that you wouldn't do normally. But we're wearing multiple days. And then good skincare routine at night too,
and hygiene,
or hygiene routine at night. I think has really helped. But I won't go back.
Yep, agreed. Do you have any tattoos?
No.
If you were to get a tattoo and I was paying for it, what would you get?
That's a good question. I don't know. I'm not against tattoos. I just never have gotten into tattoos.
How about if it could come off in 6 months?
If it could come off. It's not even about the permanent thing.
Yeah,
like, I just never.
I make a magic tattoo.
Probably something about like to remind me about like the adventure, like something like a mountain scene. Like I love like the desert. When I moved to Arizona 20 years ago, I said that there should not be cactus on mountains. It should be trees. And I was only going to be here a year. And then I was moving to Colorado. I didn't get the nursing job in Colorado. I did get the nursing job here. Knew nothing about really Arizona. My sister lived here at the time. I'm like, I'll live with you for a year. I'll become experienced, and I'll go somewhere. I'll go to Colorado. I'll go to Denver. The desert grew on me, and now I love our sunsets. So probably like some kind of like cactus sunset or something to remind me to get outside.
Yeah, nice, with some javelinas running
Yeah,
around,
right. Ugliest animal ever.
Yeah, they're technically they're not pigs. They're closer to like peccaries, which are like rodents.
Yeah, and they can be aggressive.
Oh yeah,
I've heard. Like I know people have gotten like attacked by them.
They're mostly blind.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. So if you can just kind of get out of the way, they'll run right past you. I was chased when I was a little kid. My sister left me behind for dad. I hope she's not listening to this. I don't think she listens to the podcast, but we were running by like a river, and I was a little kid, and we scared up a big group of javelinas just like that with babies, and the mom was so pissed at us and started chasing us. And I thought, I mean, I'm a little kid. I thought it was the end of the world. And I'm running, and I trip and fall. My sister's like, save yourself. And she keeps going. And I'm like, what?
That's awesome. I'm glad I didn't run it. I love wildlife, and I love, like, that's part of the trail, right? But I know there are people that someone saw, I think, a bear. Someone had, Kristen had was it a raccoon in her bivvy?
No.
Yeah.
No way.
There on Mount Lemmon, there's this
That's
like
pretty scary.
Rabid, like we don't know if it's rabid, but several people had encounters with. I'm pretty sure it was a raccoon, and she had it in her bit. So the call gets broken up. I gotta go back and listen to a lot of the MTB cast calls. I haven't listened to all of them.
Yeah.
But the call got broken up, but it got into her bivvy. I'm like, oh no.
That's a real problem. I mean, unless she had food in there.
Yeah, I was like, that's crazy. So I need to talk to her more about that. I had just met her on the trail the first day when we were riding out. But it was it was Karen, her, and then me. So I actually got third.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, so I almost ran into her. She was going up to Snowball. So the cool thing about the race this year is people came back at you, right? So
right.
I was watching the tracker not to see like if I could catch people, but to see if like who was around me or, you know, or who was finishing, like make sure that people had met. I'm like, oh good, they finished, you know. And so she was coming and we missed each other. Maybe like 20 minutes she made the turn off to go to Snowball. And she did that hike in the dark. I don't know how the people did that, climbed up the hike up Humphreys in the dark. They're insane.
Yeah, Karen, right? Karen
did it. Kristen did it.
Kristen did it at night too.
So
okay.
It was Kristen who she turned off.
Right, okay.
And then she ended up and she even said when I texted her afterwards, how'd you do that? And she's like, yeah, maybe not the smartest decision I did.
Yeah.
But
I mean, watching the tracker was like, yikes. You know, I don't know. Karen's like a winter mountain guide.
Yeah.
So whatever. She's a different breed of human.
Her and Scott are amazing. We actually took them down. I met Scott right before. She had texted me and she's like, he didn't figure out logistics of getting to the start, and he was triple crowning, and so we ended up taking him and Karen to the start.
Okay.
So got to know both of them, which is awesome. But yeah, they're and that's what I say. If you follow the stories up, it's cool that like I love being here today, telling my story, because I think a lot of us, as we were talking about at the beginning, have the fear of can I do this? Because we hear all the stories at the front of the pack, and it's like there is no cutoff. Like someone asked me one time, well, did you make the cutoffs? And I'm like, there's not cutoffs in bikepacking. I mean maybe some of the races do have cutoffs, but I was like, no, there's not cutoffs. I was like, if I wanted to be out there, you know, however many days, you know, I know the Tour Divide, if you become like touring mode versus racing mode, they do so many days, but
right.
But for most of these races, there's not a cutoff. So it was like however long you want to do it.
That's a good point.
And they're still following along. Like, you know, there wasn't a cap on it till I finished. So it was kind of nice. Like, I'm like, there's no cutoff. So don't be afraid that you are the back of the pack. And I learned so much next time when I go into CTR. Nutrition, I'll do way different. Not way different, but their thing, I ran out of my caffeine chews. Didn't have enough of my, you know, a lot of my things, you know, could have ate more carbs at certain points. Like I definitely will change up, you know, some of the things I did for food, but you learn that and you take that to your next one.
Yeah, you're going to learn that forever. There's going to be like something forever to the end of time. Okay? There's no cutoffs on that either.
John tells a real quick funny story.
Yeah.
I think he said it on your pod, so go back and listen to it, is when he was doing the CTR and he wasn't having his best fastest run maybe, but they said like we put a cap on it, the final riders in on the CTR on the Facebook page,
Right.
and he actually saw it and made a comment on the Facebook page, and he goes, "I'll tell you when the cap is done because I'm still out here." He's like, "I'll tell you when the race is done."
Yeah, come on, guys.
And I love that. So it was fun to see people cheering me in all the way to the end. Like Karen and Scott were texting me, and my phone was blowing up. I didn't know people were still following along, and my phone was blowing up 3 miles to the end. Like, hey, you're almost to the end. And the AES ride, the 6 of us that went on that, have a little texting group from that, and they were like. Me and Big Carl did the race, so they were like blowing up my phone when I was finishing. So it was cool to see like people following along to the end. And I think that's the beauty of these group starts. And it doesn't matter if you're DFL or if you're first, like there's no money really, unless you're getting sponsored. There's no money in bikepacking, so we're all out there doing the same thing.
But you podiumed, so
exactly.
I mean, look, it's just
everyone's like, you need to lead with that, not that you're a DFL. And I'm like, I'm kind of proud of the DFL, but
tales from the back of the pack. That's what we're going to call this podcast.
When I cut into MTV Cast, I don't know if you listened to any of
I
them.
didn't know.
The first couple, I was like, I think I started it as like stories from the back of the pack. Okay. Here we go. Like I kind of was like saying that, like in my call-ins, I was like, we're still out here.
Yeah. Yeah, well, look, the attrition on AZT is so extreme that, like, the people that finish, just finishing is, like,
finish isn't guaranteed on that trail, that's for sure.
Deserves a lot of congratulations on that. So, all right, so let's see, where can people find you? Your Instagram is Kara Woolgar.
Yeah, I know, not creative, it's my name.
KaraWoolgar.
Made it a long time ago, never changed it.
But you got creative on your YouTube page.
I did. So I just started so everyone's been asking me, I had like just a generic YouTube, not post anything, right? That was under my name. And then everyone's been asking me, because of my extra small bike, and I think they've been curious, other ladies, on like, what'd you pack? How'd you do it? Or what gear do you take? And I've answered the same question over and over. So I'm like, okay, I need to do a video.
Yep.
Now, what do you do with this 45-minute video, right? And so I ended up making a YouTube channel. Hopefully I'll post more things. But right now there's one video on there. And I got the inspiration from Katie Shrimpke because she did that. And I went back and watched her videos and her packing video to see, were there any ideas? How was I loading my bike for these? And hers was really good. So it's called Pint-Sized Adventures.
Yeah. So go check that out. And I think we can probably collaborate on YouTube so you can put this as your second video if you so choose.
Now I have 2.
And then we'll make a bike check video later or something.
Perfect.
So, all right. And then I think like the bags, so Nuke Sunrise bikepacking bags.
Yeah, so he came on the Queen's Ransom, David Wilson, last year. So met him, great guy, and he actually has given John some bags. So on our Aquarius trail, all my friends borrowed John's extra bags, which were his bags.
Got it.
So he's done great with having some ambassadors. I reached out to him, and he's going to try to get me some to kind of build a little bit of a gear library. I have some, John has some, but we like to build it more to help people get into bikepacking. So that first setup, you can borrow some bags, especially like feed bags and things like that, to be able to try it out and see if you like it.
Cool. And all the links for all that stuff will be in the description. And then one more reminder, the Bikepacking 101 overnight course is February 14th and 15th. So if you're interested in getting into bikepacking and want to learn more, definitely. Where can people go to sign up for that?
Yeah, right now, you can message me on Facebook, absolutely, any questions, or through Instagram. And then we have it's a public, I posted it everywhere, so it's a public event page. So I have it on mine. It's a Facebook invite. So I have it out there. It's in a lot of the bikepacking groups, but if you can't find it, just message me and I can send you the invite. But we just started getting it out there. I think we're gonna try to get it on bikepacking.com's events page as well. I don't know if we did that yet, but it's just message me and I can get it to you.
Cool. Yeah, bikepackingroots.com or bikepackingroots.org too. I think they do.
Yeah, they post events too.
Yeah, you can put the events, and I'll put it in the link too. That's right. I have the link here, so I'll put that in the link. So. All right, Kara, thank you very much.
Thank you for having me. It was fun.
Yeah, thanks for being you. Congratulations.
Thanks.
And, have a good, exciting year of bikepacking rides.
Sounds good.
All right.